There we go. That's why there wasn't any picture there before.
Yeah, we can see you now.
I got to do more digging. I had been using AARP Security, their free version, and last time I went to update it, acted like it couldn't mount the new version. Now I just find a place where it told me it shut off, so that's not good. What security recommendations do you have these days, Steve?
Okay. Do you hear me, Lyle? Okay, good.
Do you hear me?
I do not hear you yet, though.
Ah,
Um, I don't know if it's my end or your end. Let me try.
I am not muted. Can you hear me now?
Let me try a different audio output.
Click.
Oops.
Ups.
Okay, now I can hear me.
Ah, yes. There we go.
Charlie's
I
coming.
guess that's still not working.
All right, my audio is now working and being fed into YouTube.
Something real quick. Not that I've heard, and there wasn't anything discussed in our meeting last night. Bye.
Yeah, the audio was at my end, Lyle. I've got to mix the audio from from Mastermind Lounge and my headset to get into YouTube.
Does that mean you can hear me now?
I can hear you now, yep.
Ah.
And the aggregate device should have worked because I'm mixing the same things. But I had to change to a multi-output device.
I noticed you fixed it shortly after Charlie came on, so he must have pointed that out to you so you get it right.
Yep. Yeah, thank you, Charlie.
I didn't say anything. I was letting you guys sort stuff out. But Lyle, it's nice to see you. And good to see Steve.
Good
Now I'm
evening.
going to shut up again.
All right, so... Okay, Ken is coming.
So as Ken's coming in, we've run into a new interesting internet access issue this year. I've had it on 2 sites so far where we can get through our router to the internet, good speeds, access everything we want, except getting to the tax software.
The thing you
It's
really
like
need.
It's like it's blocked on getting down to that to TaxSlayer who does the taxes. On TaxSlayer's end, we're the only ones they see having a problem, and on our end, we don't see any problem other than them. So it's sort of been an interesting journey that we're still working on.
Have you tried a different browser? So, like Mastermind likes Chrome, even though it's supposed to work in Safari.
Well, the point is, it's all in Chromebooks, so
Yeah.
it's the only browser we're going to be using is Chrome.
Yeah.
The only device we're going to be using is Chromebooks, and those have been restarted, rebooted, re-accessing, see if we can get different servers on our end.
So it might be interesting to try it with a laptop in Safari to see if it works, and if if the problem's at the other end in their coding.
Well, interesting email came through yesterday about Cloudflare. You familiar with Cloudflare?
Yeah, they're a CDN and a content delivery network and DDoS protection.
Well, the interesting thing is that the feed was, why would Cloudflare deny access to TaxSlayer Pro Online? And basically, if they are looking up in a database and they think the IP address they see coming in might be malicious or suspect, they block it.
Yeah, there's something called a distributed denial of service attack, which is shortened to DDoS, and it's bad guys will try to take a company offline by sending basically millions of packets a second.
Right.
And so Cloudflare has protections against that by blocking that IP address that's sending those packets. And occasionally there's a false positive where they block someone they really shouldn't have, but it triggered a flag that made them think it was an attack. I could see that happening. They've been fighting some really massive attacks lately. There was one that was in the trillions of, literally trillions of packets per second.
So you're changing time.
Wow. Yeah, that could be a load.
Or, I mean, am I bothering?
Yeah, we're the 7th. Yeah.
Oh.
So in February of 23, they had a record 71 million requests per second.
So I didn't know.
And now in February of 24, I think it's
It's
over 100,000. Yeah,
So-
2.5 terabits per second.
Now, are you attacked?
Yes.
Are you busy? Or
I'm just starting. Yeah, what do you need?
Okay.
a cup with lots of ice and water?
I'm going to mute Kim while she's chatting with someone else.
Hey, Lyle, did you get my message today?
Today, quite possibly not, since I was doing taxes all day, and
Yeah.
so is it's in my inbox here someplace?
Yeah, well, basically, we've had a couple people, counselors, that can't be there tomorrow because of medical. One's had an operation. He's not going to be there till mid-March, and somebody just contacted me this afternoon, said he's not going to be there. One of our other new people, they're not coming until the 22nd. I mean, we'll work it out, but I don't know if there's anybody at your sites that may be able to help us out, maybe later in the year as a substitute.
Which days are you open?
Thursday in Henrietta.
Yeah, because my site's almost all hands on deck on Thursday and Friday in Chilai.
Yeah.
If you didn't, drop that note off to John Lasik, because he's got the broader distribution, and see if they'd rustle up some additional people.
Yeah, I emailed you and John, so
Okay.
if you knew anybody. Yeah, we're almost full for the rest of the year, so we have 50 appointments a day at Henrietta. I think there's 54 or something like that in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
And we're full. We're full.
Yeah, I'm almost full in Chi-Lai. I've still got some room left out in Riga. Good support. The last thing was almost booked. Gates has been booked since about the second day they opened up for reservations.
Yeah.
I think Greece, I think he's getting mostly there. Hilton is full. Webster, I think, is full.
And it's only February.
I know. Are you going the last week before filing day, before the 15th of April? Yeah.
Yeah, our last day is the 12th.
The 12th, okay. Because we're deciding, Ron decided to open up because he missed Good Friday. And, last year we did not open up that last week because it was so close to filing. If we had a problem, whether we'd be able to fix it or not, or so.
Yeah, usually I give myself 2 or 3 days. In this case, ran it up to the 12th. There's the weekend, and then Monday the 15th. So we've got just a little scurry room if something happens. Typically, we get to those last couple of days. We also run into a lot of no-shows. It was so close to the deadline that they went and found someplace else to get their taxes done and just never told us.
Right.
That's not very nice.
No, because it, they took up reservations that people who really need it could have used, and instead the resource goes to waste. But such is the way of dealing with the public. Not that you've seen that at all in your line of business,
Yeah.
Steve.
For a while, we tried charging like $5 for an appointment, especially to our training classes. And then we give them a $5 coupon or $10 coupon back as an incentive, under the assumption that maybe if they paid for it, surely I'm echoing in. If they paid for the class, they might show up better, but it didn't really work.
You gotta charge them $50 and say when you show up, you'll get the $50 back.
Yeah.
Hey, there you go. That would get them in there. Maybe. Well, and you probably run into this as well, Ken, now that we have people picking up packets ahead of time in bold and big print, because this is still the property tax credit, and put in there, bring your property tax bills.
Yeah.
Even if you don't expect to itemize. Nice bold print. And sure enough, client today, where's your property tax bills? Oh, well, I didn't think I'd need them. So I took out the little instruction sheet, pointed to the bold print. Oh, I didn't see that.
Step 1, bring your property tax.
No.
We got a whole bunch of tools. We can go out and look up stuff. But, of course, as soon as you start doing it, you're adding another 10, 15 minutes to every return.
Yeah.
So when did you start seeing people?
Actually, I waited a little bit this year. Usually I start on like the 1st or 2nd of February, but we waited until I guess the 5th was my first day. No, actually, I take that back. The 7th. 7th was the day I opened.
Yeah, we opened the 2nd. I mean the 1st. And we had about 20 people.
Yeah, the good news is you open early. It's light. A lot of people recognize they don't have paperwork. It gives you a chance to sort of debug your systems. People get used to logging in, and
Yep. Well, even the first day we had to send people back because they didn't have the documents. Okay, I'll just file it without it.
Yeah.
I said, you don't want to do that because then you're going to have the IRS coming back to you and saying you owe money and you don't want that. And then there's a big hassle and you.
Not to mention that we can't ethically do it.
Right. I like Bill's answer. Bill Smout. He says, I took an oath to do the tax return as truthfully as possible, and I have to follow that.
Yep.
And the taxpayer looks at him like, oh, okay. Yeah, Bill's been around a little bit.
There are definitely those times that we tell them, you know, if you hadn't said anything, we'd have just filed this. But now that you've shared that information,
Yep.
now we do get into a situation where if somebody comes back 2 weeks later because they got another 1099-R and it's only for $200, it's like, you know, okay, here are the options. You know, we can go in and do an amended or just let it go. Be aware that 6 to 9 months, they're going to do a computer match. They're going to see you didn't include it. You'll get a letter. They're going to say, you said this. We think it should have been this. If you agree, send us a check for $20 and sign this. So,
Well, I'm noticing what they're doing is they're taking it out of the refund.
oh yeah, well, if they catch it soon enough, they'll do that.
Right. Or they're giving money back to people, you know, more money. I got more money than what they said. Well, because maybe there was a document you didn't have in there that
Had withholding.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I lost my audio thing. So what were you talking about?
Well, it depends on when you lost it.
Oh, just a minute two ago, whatever you were last talking about.
People who skip their appointments and screw the rest of the
Yeah, we
schedule.
started with skipped appointments, and then we started with people who say, well, yeah, I don't have that document, but just file it anyway. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Once we know there's something
There was
missing.
There
All
was a thing I was going to refrain from bringing up with you guys, but since we're sort of in a little bit of informal yakking here, I'll mention it. I do my income taxes online with a company out of St. Louis called Online Taxes, and it works pretty well. But this year they had a new wrinkle, and it kind of confused me. And it involves Form 8880, 8880,
Yep.
which Lyle's nodding his head. This is good. And it was just really weird. And I wish that when I'd gone through it, I'd done a screenshot of the questions that they asked on their software, because I actually went back in later and I went to the extent of saying, yes, I'm going to file an amended return, hoping that might show up, but it did not. And I think that's because I did not put any further income information in to trip it. And so I just kind of very quietly backed out and tried not to make any noise. And, I got my refund check. So apparently, and the numbers I had given them were correct. But what was confusing about the questions on the OLT software was that they had about 4 boxes, and you could check one of them. And the one that might have applied to me involved, I got a couple of 403Bs and some other, income in there. And the question seemed to say, check this box if you received any of these payments before the 2023 tax deadline, which made no sense to me because I was filing before the 2023 tax deadline. So, and I'm listing them. So yeah, I received them, So I think I ended up not checking that, and it'll just be interesting to see whether next year the questions are the same or they've modified them a bit to make them intelligible. I'm pretty sure that 8880 did not apply to me because I think it involves people who have continued to make contributions to things like 403B. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
And you get a credit for those.
It's funny, they would have, that would have changed the process flow you've had before, because they really haven't changed anything in that area. But part of that is if you're contributing to your retirement, then there is that retirement savings credit that you can get. I would guess that you're more in the mode of taking money out than putting it in at this point.
Exactly. Yes. Right. So anyway, I think I'll avoid going to Supermax for it or something like that.
All right. So should we start our meeting officially?
Why not?
All right. It's 7:20. So let's do our official February 14th, 2024 Valentine's meeting on Mastermind Lounge. So welcome to everybody. I can tell that Lyle already is going to get lots of questions and give us lots of information. And hopefully everybody has gotten all their forms in order to do their taxes. Because I know there's always stragglers by getting the forms out and you're waiting, it seems. So anyway, Steve, take it away. What are you going to start with?
Well, let's start with some news. And I am going to push this button and bring up that tab. So, of course, the big news from Apple is they sponsored the Super Bowl halftime show. And apparently, from the reviews, that was the most boring Super Bowl halftime in a long time. We stopped to watch the halftime show, but we didn't actually watch the game. I had it running in a little window so I could make sure when halftime came on. But yeah, the first half was boring, and the second half, comeback. So there was an interesting joke that started posting. There's your picture here when Usher took his shirt off. So last year, what's her name? The performer.
Rihanna.
Rihanna was pregnant, and this year Usher takes his shirt off, and all the women watching just go swoon, right?
Well, he is in pretty good shape for a guy his age.
He's a good-looking guy.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. We had no complaints.
And of course, Apple has the halftime show available on their website, so you can go watch it again if you want to. And you can download it from the Apple Music Store.
Did you get in?
Yeah.
Okay.
You going in now?
Yeah.
Also, the Apple Vision Pro, which we'll talk about later, has hit the marketplace. Let's see. I am on the wrong tab here. Nope, you're seeing it. The little thumbnail shows the first guy walking out of the Fifth Avenue Cube to the cheers of hundreds of Apple employees, being the first one to get your Apple Vision. Now we're close to that 2-week return period, and the story is about how many people are returning it, with all the early bloggers that wanted to post their review and then return it and get their $4,000 back. The bigger story for maybe investors is the right word. Oops. This window and paste is the Apple quarterly results came out, and $120 billion in revenue for the quarter. And we can see Apple makes a crap load of money. There have been people who joke about Apple's printing press. Their phone accounts for 58% of the revenue. So over half of Apple's revenue is phone. iPad and Mac are relatively small. Services is where the growing category is, and that's iCloud and Apple News, Apple Music, things like that. And on the Mac, revenue was kind of flat for the quarter. up a little bit, 7.8 billion, sorry. So someone pointed out that if each of Apple's divisions was split out, all 5 of them would be in the Fortune 500. Year over year, Mac was up about 1%. It's interesting that last quarter was down. So this is let me see. Yeah, first quarter. Let me think. No, I'm sorry. This is fourth quarter of 2023. First quarter 2024 because they start early, so Christmas is in their first quarter. iPad revenue up a bit, although year over year it's down because we had no new iPads last year. So that makes the rumors for new iPads this year even stronger. iPhone revenue is where all the money is, and there's services. You can tell for the last 10 years, is that? No, 10 quarters. Services revenue is just climbing. Wearables, you can kind of see that first quarter is Christmas, and then second, third, fourth, and then first quarter again for Christmas. $33.9 billion in profit off of their $120 billion in revenue, and their gross margin is at 45%. Although that's kind of an unfair statistic, that their products don't have a gross margin of 45% on it. That's the gross margin for all of their sales versus all of their expenses. So some people, when a new product comes out, there'll be someone who looks at the bill of materials and says, that $1,000 iPhone only has $300 in parts. That doesn't account for the billions of dollars of research they did to make that iPhone. Here's our revenue by product line. So this was interesting, revenue by country. China has been on a decline for the last couple of quarters as the trade wars continue in China. There's been a kind of a surge of nationalism in China for people buying Chinese-made phones rather than the iPhones. And then, so this is the 6 Colors article, and he's got an interesting. He has an interesting section on. There we go. Tim Cook in the quarterly report talked about AI. One of the very few times that he's actually mentioned AI. They always call their products machine learning rather than artificial intelligence, which is a little more correct because it isn't actually an artificial intelligence. It's just collating massive amounts of data. And yeah, what's your favorite product? No, Tim Cook likes all his kids equally, all the different products. So this is an interesting article on 6 Colors if you want to read it. Jason Stell and Dan Moore have been in the Mac world for close to 40 years. They just we passed the 40th anniversary of the Macintosh on January 24th, and there were lots of articles and blogs showing the birthday and remembering the early days of the Macintosh, and then the lean 90s, and then when the end of the 90s when Steve came back and the Macintosh came out. It's interesting. 40 years seems like such a long time ago. It's like the older you get, the less old something feels. It's as old as you are now. All right, let's go back to Apple's. Whoops, come on, back and back. Whoops, forward. So one of the big issues with the Vision Pro, actually, maybe I'll wait until Marty gets here for all the Vision stuff. There aren't that many. There's only 600 native apps. So that's one of the reasons some people have announced the returning the Vision Pro is there's not that many apps. 13 Academy Award nominations for Apple Apple movies and TV shows, including Best Picture,
Steve,
Best
quick
Actress.
question.
Yep.
Will you be getting to any comments about the possible EU requirement that Apple permit sideloading?
Yeah. I think that's in
Okay.
it may not be in the Apple News yet.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Because it's part of iOS 17.4. Yeah, so they may not have announced it yet. It's in their pre-announcement. So one of the things that the EU has there it is, a new law coming out called the Digital Market Act, and from this Apple press release you can really feel their tone of voice and how much they hate this new law, and they're doing the minimum possible to comply with the law, and they are saying how bad the law is going to be for Apple users. Basically, in the EU, the Digital Marketing Act is trying to level the playing field between all stores. And they have decided that the Apple Store is a monopoly for iPhone apps, and the Google Play Store is a monopoly for Android apps. And so what's being done here is that the hope, and this all went back, it kind of started back with the Epic lawsuit in Fortnite, is that you would be able to buy apps from a different store and not have to go through the Apple Store. But what this is doing is your developers will be allowed to have a different payment method when you buy an app in the Apple App Store. So right now, all the payment processing goes through Apple. And so developers will use a different payment app. But Apple is saying that because they're not handling the payments, it's a new avenue for malware, frauds, and scams, and all this bad stuff to come in. So they're trying to say that the Digital Marketing Act or Digital Market Act is actually going to hurt consumers. And in 17.4 in the EU only, developers will be able to have a separate payment method. And one of the big thing is a developer will be able to say in their program, you can buy this content elsewhere. So one of the big criticisms now with apps is that, for example, the Kindle app, if you want to buy a Kindle book, you cannot buy it in the Kindle app on the iOS. You have to go to the Amazon website, buy the book, and then it shows up in your Kindle library. And so in the EU, the Kindle owners will be able to buy apps in the Kindle, buy new books in the Kindle app. And I'm not sure if it says it in this one or not. So one of the things that Apple has done with the App Store is that they take a 30% margin if you make more than $1 million a year on your app, or it's a 15% margin if you're under $1 million a year. And so they're dropping that by 3% if you use a different payment method, because that 3% is the credit card processing fees that Apple has been charging. So instead of 15% cut to Apple, you're going to do a 12% cut to Apple, which is still significantly lower than typical retail stores where like Walmart gets 100% markup. So you sell something for $50 at Walmart and Walmart keeps 25 of it. But it's really interesting. So far, this is only in the EU, because U.S. laws haven't changed yet to include this, and it's a most people are saying it's a little unlikely this will happen in the U.S. because U.S. laws are more business friendly, than the EU, which are more consumer friendly. So Apple is saying how bad this is going to be, but they're grudgingly doing it. And the first time somebody gets a malicious program on their iPhone because they went through a third-party payment system, Apple's going to say, "See, we told you." And that has already happened in the Android world, when Fortnite first came out and Epic decided not to put it in the store because they didn't want to pay Google the 30% either. Within hours of Fortnite posting instructions on how to turn off the Android safety net so that you could sideload an app. Within hours of Fortnite posting it, there were dozens of fake Fortnite apps that were installing malicious software on Android. And so Fortnite eventually closed that off and went back in the Android store.
It sounds to me like maybe you would be able to do something in settings, or it would require special permission so that you don't inadvertently sideload something if you don't want to.
Yeah, on Android, you have to jump through several layers of settings to turn off the protections to allow you to sideload an app. And that was one of the expectations, that maybe Apple will add that to the iPhone. But it looks like they're complying with the law differently, saying that you can use a different payment processing. So instead of buying the app from the Apple Store, you're going to buy it from a different store inside the Apple App Store.
And Steve,
Does that mean that Apple will be vouching for the security of those apps?
No. One of the things they say in this press release is they cannot vouch for the security, and basically are warning people they shouldn't do this. But they
and
have,
Steve,
they have to comply with the law.
one of the things that Apple has said, that if they have a problem with an app that's been sideloaded, that they have to go back to the people that make the app to get it solved, because
Right.
Apple won't do it because they didn't buy it from them.
Yeah, right now it's fairly easy to return an app on the App Store, within a certain period of time if you realize the app wasn't for you. It's pretty. In fact, there was they were talking about on Security Now. There's a practice. I forget what he called it, but someone was talking about a flashlight program that allowed various variable intensities of light, without realizing that's built into the Apple flashlight in the iOS now. But they had pulled an update, and suddenly the flashlight app was full of ads, and it had gone from free to requiring a subscription, and the subscription was $15 a week. And what they're pretty sure happened is that the original author of this program cashed out, sold it to another company, and that other company capitalized on the popularity and reputation of this author, to basically turn the program into crap, and hoping to catch people not realizing it's $15 a week, and maybe thinking $15 a month or even $15 a year, without seeing it was really $15 a week. And people have done some research and found several apps where that has happened.
Yeah, they call it slamming.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm not going to be able to find it offhand. It was in GR in Security Now a couple of weeks ago. Let me see. Can I guess the URL? Nope. So when you are buying an app, so for the most part, don't pay for apps. But when you're buying an app, make sure that you look at the price and take a look at the there it is. Make sure what the terms are. Is it $15 once? Is it $15 a week? Is it $15 a year?
Well, it can be very difficult now to determine anything because everything says in-app purchases. It's like, well, you need to give me more information than that. That's not good enough.
Yeah, you have to scroll down and find what those purchases are. Yeah, so here they're talking about it. So they were thinking the developer got hijacked or he got sold out. And when they looked up the new owner of the app, that turned out to be what it was. So the app had a
And
million.
one of the problems also the apps have is that they don't have free trials. Where you
Right.
can try it out for a week or a couple days to see if you really want it.
Yeah, that's one of the advantages the Mac App Store has, is that on the Mac you can download a free trial from their website, and you don't have to get it through the App Store. Let me see if I can find one in the App Store to show. But in a paid app, scroll. This is all free because of the freemium plans. It's very hard to find paid apps. Oh, well, okay. Let me do this. So let me switch the sharing to another tab, and I'm gonna go here and go to App Store. So for example, if I, normally when it says get, that means it's free, and if there's a price, you pay that immediately. But as Rick was mentioning, that little tiny print under there, in-app purchases. So if I say get, no, I'm not going to say that now. I'm going to click on it. So if you scroll down far enough, somewhere in here, there it is, in-app purchases, yes. You can pull down that menu, and here it tells you what those in-app purchases are. But
Well, that's something I haven't even seen before. So thank you for that, Steve.
Yep, I'm going to scroll
I
down.
mean, I can't believe that this has been hidden. Why did they make it a menu that you had to pull down? Ridiculous.
Yep, and you got to scroll down far enough to find it.
Have you talked about like how you go about canceling things? Do you do it through the App Store or?
You do it in your account information. So I'm going to click on my account at the bottom and go to account settings. Sign in. I don't remember the password offhand. Let me try. Nope. All right, hang on a second. Let me. And why it doesn't ask for my fingerprint? very annoying. Some things ask for your fingerprint and some things don't. And what, what's the difference? Okay. Okay, this is not where you do it now. You can you can see your purchases in your account information. But to change your to cancel a subscription, where did they move that to? They moved it to settings, I think it is. Let me go look. Oops, wrong button. Close, close, close. Yes, okay. So let me stop sharing that window, and we will share system settings. So on the computer, it's in system settings. On the phone, it's in settings as well.
Settings.
Oops, make that bigger. In settings, under Apple ID, and then under media and purchases, and then under subscriptions, you can manage your subscriptions.
Purchases.
So right now, I have no subscriptions. So if you did have a subscription there, it would tell you what it was for, and when the next renewal date was.
Okay.
So that actually spawned the App Store. So maybe there is a way to get into it from the App Store. You can manage devices, you can manage purchases. Oh, there it is, manage subscriptions. Okay. So it is hiding in the App Store as well. So back under account information, scroll down farther. Now you can manage your subscriptions. And in this case, I don't have any, but it's giving me an ad. I can buy a subscription if I want.
I was given a free subscription to Apple Arcade for 3 months.
Yep.
And now I need to cancel it. So I guess
Yeah.
that's what I'll be doing, because I really don't use it much. I mean, I got out Angry Birds, and that was it.
Yeah, Apple has free subscriptions to a lot of their products, news and music and Apple Arcade, and you get a free subscription when you buy a new Apple device. And their hope is that you'll get hooked by it and forget to cancel it. Excuse me. Alrighty. Do we have any questions? Let's do a little bit of Q&A, or do we want to go? It's getting close to 8. Should we go right into Lyle and then hold questions for later?
Sure.
Sure.
Anyone have
That's
any
fine.
burning questions? Okay, Lyle, I am going to make you the presenter. So now you should get a new icon at the bottom of your screen, or bottom of the window, to share your presentation.
I'm going to go watch everything on YouTube for a while, and I'll be back.
Okay, now I got to figure out how. There it is.
And then yeah, click the tab into a window. There you go. Okay.
And let me do this. So are you seeing the entire slide at this point?
Yep.
Yep.
So some of these I'm going to water ski through. I'm not sure on this platform whether people raise hands or whatever, but if somebody has questions, jump in with them, or somebody flag me down and we'll address them as we're going through it. Sort of sharing the history of where we've been before. 2020 was a tough year and 21 wasn't much better, but we're actually pretty much back to normal now. This year is off to a pretty good start, and I'm hopeful it will continue to run smooth, although we have time at the end. I'll share some of our networking issues that are turning out to get increasingly worse as everyone worries about security and who has access to what. This is the stuff you've all seen before. In terms of the broad organization, we help an awful lot of people across the country. Our target audience are those who are elderly and those who are low income, but in truth, we're open to everybody. If you have to file taxes, basically you can come to us as long as you are within the scope of where we're trained, we would do your return. As noted, covering all the states. I found this interesting. Went back to, okay, why did you disappear? We went back and looked back pre-COVID within NY4. NY4 is the section of New York that runs from Buffalo to Syracuse and from Lake Ontario down to the PA border. We had about 750 volunteers. Post-COVID, we're down to 500. Now, I don't know why that keeps jumping away on me. That's obviously COVID in some cases gave those who maybe had been with the organization several years sort of a graceful way to exit. Now we're 2-3 years later. Quite frankly, a lot of our volunteers are not spring chickens. So between aging out, between some literally passing away, getting involved with other stuff, we're down to 2/3 of the volunteers that we had before COVID. Interestingly enough, we haven't lost that many sites. We've lost 10% of our sites from 50 down to 45. We're gradually coming back in terms of the number of returns. Pre-COVID, we were probably doing 25,000 returns in this area, and we're back up to 18,000 at this point. You can also see the hardware we use, 400 Chromebooks, and we have just under 100 of the Brother 2370 DW printers. We've pretty much standardized on those. I can tell you from the technical side, life is so much easier now of not trying to deal with a bunch of PC platforms with 12 to 15 different models of printers and all that grief. So this part of it at least has gone in the right direction. Tax law changes, good, bad, not. I guess the best news is there weren't many, just some minor ones, and we'll touch base on those as we walk through this. Well, to this sort of what I'll walk through, you can see the changes listed here in terms of how we treat digital assets, all the way down through some of the business stuff, and to a couple of changes within New York State. I'll end with how you can find sites. These are the models that are available. When you say models, how can you get your taxes done? I've brushed shoulders with this first one, is all that I've done with it. In terms of ATP, alternative tax preparation, basically, you can use free software, and there is a number that you can contact within tax aid program, where a tax aid volunteer will then get on and help answer your questions and help walk you through whatever free prep software you're using. I haven't gotten involved with it because I get enough time soaked up in just simply managing a site, but that's very popular to the users, not so popular to the people who are providing support, some of which is because obviously users need a lot of help and it can be almost overbearing. There are still some sites where we do everything from literally just having the documents delivered electronically. We do the return, they sign electronically. You never touch the taxpayer. I have one of the people that I do that we consider friends and families from my church, that this is exactly the way it works. Her son handles her stuff for her. I send him a link. He uploads her Social Security statement, 1099-Rs, interest statements. I'll use those digital documents to prepare the return, send it back to him. He approves it, signs the right documents. We file it. Nobody ever touched anything. In between, we have some sites that are still doing the scanners like we did a couple of years ago of people bring their documents in for a quick interview. They scan them and they come back a few days or a week later to pick up their tax documents. So we do have those still in play. Our traditional model, and this has morphed a little. One of the things we found was having people pick up their documents in terms of what they have to fill out and maybe a sheet to remind people of what they need to bring has helped our conformance and has helped how quickly we can get through their returns. So when they set up the appointment, our clients are required to come and pick up a packet. That packet includes what we love. It's our, right, everything's got to have a number and a letter. Our 13614Cs. These include their personal information. There's a checklist of, okay, what kinds of income did you have? What kinds of expenses? Do you going to itemize? What other weird circumstances might come up so that we can see what we're facing as we start to sit down and work on the taxes. That also includes a lot of demographic questions. And if you were to talk to Ken offline, I'm sure he would tell you that how much we all enjoy answering those demographic questions, and yet they serve a purpose. We're funded a lot by the IRS. We're funded primarily by the AARP Foundation. That's the nonprofit arm of AARP. But they also get a number of grants from various underserved communities. As an example, from a gay rights perspective, some of the questions that we ask are in that area, and they may well provide some funding to AARP to help defray some of the expenses of this overall program. So they do serve a purpose. We prepare the taxes face to face. And that's, quite frankly, most of us, we strongly prefer that. You've got the person right there, you're interacting with them, and also as you're doing the return, you've got them there to answer questions. We always get a second set of eyes on everything we do. So once the return is complete, there different sites may handle this differently, but before that return can be filed and before the client gets a copy of that return, we have a second person that walks through everything that's been entered to see if there were some fat fingering of the keys. Did we get some digits backwards? Make sure everything is as good as we can get it. At that point, when it's finished, a copy is printed for the client and usually emailed within hours. Generally, we try to make sure that's within a 48-hour window that gets sent in. One of the changes this year, any and all banking information initialed by the client. It used to be that if they said, well, no, my bank hasn't changed, just take it off last year's return, we'd say, well, okay, yep, we'll do that. And then we would have them initial it. This year, even if that number is coming off a check, we have them confirm the routing number and confirm their account number. The reason for that is some changes within the banking industry. It used to be if you requested direct deposit and the number got messed up, that would end up bouncing back to the IRS as undeliverable. The IRS would just turn around, issue a paper check, and you might wonder why it took so long, but 4, 6, 8 weeks later, you get a paper check. A lot of banks now have changed that if that ends up not going somewhere, it doesn't go back to the IRS. It ends up, I don't know if they just immediately put it on their bottom line or they put it in a holding queue, but the point is, IRS never knows it wasn't delivered. Now the client comes back to the IRS saying, hey, submitted my return, I didn't get my money. And the IRS says, well, we sent it. And when they find out the number's wrong, well, client's out of luck.
Lyle, just a situation that I had last year where a guy, we took his banking information off of the last year's return, and I said, are you sure this is your bank account? He said, yes. And I looked at the routing number and it didn't look right. We ended up calling the bank. And they said, no, that's not ours. Oh, but I do know whose it is. It's H&R Block. So
Yep.
what happened was last year he went, or the year before, he went to H&R Block. He got a refund. They gave him money right away, probably less $200, whatever it was. But last year when I did it, if I didn't check it, the refund would have gone to H&R Block. Then we got to figure out, where did it go and how to get it back. So that's why we have people initial that.
Also, I would imagine with so many people getting hacked and compromised, it's so common to get a new credit card number or even a new bank account sometimes that you may have the same bank but a different account number from last year. So it's a good idea to make sure you check that.
You're absolutely right, Steve. And there have been bank acquisitions. Some of those end up with routing numbers changing. The other thing clients will do is they'll come in with their deposit slips and say, well, here's my deposit slip. Well, no, deposit slips don't always have the same routing number on them as your checks do. Sometimes those are different. So we very much like to work by check, but yeah, absolutely, that banking information gets accepted by the client. We encourage them to take a real close look at it. And once that's been initialed, then quote unquote, you could say that's sort of our CYA. We're off the hook for it. And obviously that applies to your own when you're submitting your own taxes. Double and triple check those numbers to make sure that what's going in is what you want to have go in. Last year, digital assets were just starting to show up, and it was a case of if anybody was holding them, if we saw digital assets anywhere, AARP just basically said, you know what, there's too many things going on here. We don't want to take a chance. Out of scope, don't do the return. This year, now they've opened it up to, if you're just holding them, that's fine. So if they're purchased, they're held, received as a gift, essentially, as long as you're not generating income with it, you're not selling them, you're not doing that kind of thing, that's in scope. We don't care. If somebody has disposed of some digital assets that then generate some income, then that's outside of basically our right to do the return. And while I don't understand that space real well, I can imagine that there can be some questions around what was the basis, how much was the real income, questions that we just are not sure how we would go about answering. So that's what this, again, just comes into saying, if they might be income or the result of income, then they would be out of scope for us. If you sell them, you trade them, you give them away. Likewise, if somebody received them as compensation, well, it's a form of income, but how should they properly be valued? We stay clear of it. Some other changes. This one is one that I've been, I guess you could say, taking advantage of, because the RMD age rises to 73 after 2022. So where at one point it was 70 and a half, and then it went up to 72. Now it's up to 73. And then by 2033, it will be up to 75. Those dates guidelines are the same as was shared last year.
Lyle, if I can just mention, anybody who has started at 70 and a half, started taking the RMDs, you have to continue. You can't stop and wait till 73.
Right. Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And here's another reason why you don't want to make sure you don't miss that one is, in the past, if you failed to take an RMD, the penalty was actually 50%. Talk about taking a bite out of it. It's still a pretty big bite at 25%. I have found that if someone has been regularly taking the RMD and then something happened that they missed it, while this says 10% if the missed RMD is taken timely, I've actually found every instance I've probably seen this 3 or 4 times, and it's always been forgiven. They haven't actually applied the penalty. As soon as we discovered it, we made sure they took the RMD. We put in the description behind it of, just found it. The reason was ABC, and the penalty has not been assessed. If you're still contributing to 401ks, IRAs, HSAs, just keep track. That goes up every year. Make sure that you're taking full advantage of those in terms of getting the money in those so that it can accumulate and on the untaxed dollars, and then you can worry about the taxes later. Credits for electric vehicles has improved. If you start reading what those regulations are, you would understand why, for us, we're saying it's out of scope. There are requirements in there in terms of the percentage of content from U.S. manufacturers, a whole host of other items around that, again, we just stay clear of. If you're trying to help the environment that much, go to a paid preparer. The energy efficient, quite a few changes here that make this much easier to deal with. Now it's called energy efficient home improvement. It used to be the residential energy credit. As I said, major changes. Annual amounts have been greatly increased. It used to be there was you could say lifetime limit. I have no idea if the IRS was ever able to keep track of that. I know we did not do a good job. The clients never knew how much they'd already gotten. If we haven't done prior returns, how would we know? So I think maybe they've just acknowledged reality and got rid of the cumulative credit limits. Again, for us, if you're getting into alternative fuels and electric vehicles and some other things, that would be out of scope for us handling it. We're still the traditional things. If you do air sealing, insulation, let's see if I have it in here. Yeah, I'll probably touch it. There are a number of things that are still in scope. Obviously, if you get energy efficient furnace, some other things, all those help. It's non-refundable. So what that means is, and we run into this on a regular basis, you have to owe taxes for this credit to help you because it's going to lower your tax bill. It's not going to give you free money. We have a lot of seniors who paid little or no federal income taxes. They get their windows replaced. Their contractor says, oh yeah, this has these tax credits. You're going to get $500 back, $700 back in tax credits. They come in, do our taxes. They don't get anything. They say, well, my contractor said I'd get this. Well, it's non-refundable. It only goes against taxes if you owe them. If you're not owing any taxes, then it's not going to help you in terms of your tax bill. It'll still help you save energy, obviously. If you don't use them this year, they're gone. This is not like if you do a stock sale for a loss and you don't use it all this year, those capital losses carry forward until you use them. Not the case here. Use it or lose it. They do indicate under this new guideline, property has to be put in service essentially in 2023 moving forward. So if you put a new furnace in June of 22, that's not this tax year. So it's not going to be addressed. And the item being installed has to have a life of at least 5 years. I was surprised by this next one. I started digging through some of the links that we have. And if you have a new furnace put in, you would think, gee, I have a new furnace put in at 95%. Guess what? It doesn't qualify. It's got to be essentially at the upper end of the metric being used currently to determine energy efficiency in various product lines. So for furnaces, got to be 97% or better. I had a client on Monday that had a new furnace put in at 95%. She was disappointed to learn didn't qualify. Has to be on your principal residence, not your cabin up in the woods or down at the lake. I found this a little interesting. Manufactured homes are eligible. In general, they do need help on energy improvement, so I think that's probably a good thing. This just gives you a feel for the magnitude. So 30% of things like doors, windows, skylights, insulation. Also, again, central air, a lot of split systems now going in that are basically fancy heat pumps. Notice this last one. Now, I haven't checked things out here in this area recently, but for a long time, basically, you could get a home energy audit for free from, Bedlam, Isaac, any number of companies, because they were going to then sell you to do the work recommended by the audit. Now, that may still be true, but the point is you have to pay for a home energy audit. that is deductible. And next year, so for tax year 2024, you'll actually have to have the name and confirm that that is a licensed individual who performed that audit. These are some more provisions that came in the Secure Act of 2.0. If you're into any of these categories, just be aware that when you get your taxes done, that these need to be addressed. We don't see these very often. And when I do see them, I generally have to go to my reference materials and look those up to make sure that we're going to treat them correctly. We are coming to run out of the back end of the first-time homebuyer distributions. You may remember back in 08, 9, 10, that there were people who, when they bought a home, would receive up to 10% of the purchase price of the home as a credit. And then for the next like 15 years, they would pay back part of that as part of filing their taxes until they got that fully paid up. So we're gradually running through the end of that. This is not fully resolved yet. This rule change went into effect, I think like 3 or 4 years ago, and the final details still haven't been worked out. But the essence of this, there was a point in time where if you passed away and then you passed on your IRA to your son, and let's say your son at that point was 40, the payout of that IRA would be based on his life expectancy. What they did was change this to require a full distribution within a 10-year period. Now, people who, in terms of their estates, are passing down, 100,000, 200,000, 500,000 to their children, this makes a huge difference, because this is going to require all that income to hit their taxable income while they're still in the working age. So that's had some interesting consequences. As noted, they said on the inherited IRA, there's no RMD required this year. They're going to waive any penalties for the 21, 22, 23 years. But the final way that's going to be handled is still to come out. Hopefully they'll get that settled this coming year.
Yeah. Lyle, if I can jump in, because
yes, absolutely, anytime.
I have my 3 stepchildren have an inherited IRA, and when it first came out, the IRS said in all the documents that I read, "Hey, listen, you just have to disperse it within 10 years. You don't have to take an RMD." And so everybody was going along with that and say, "Okay, this is great, but we got a plan for 10 years." And then in 2022 in August, they came out and said, "Oh, no, we're not going to have a penalty for everybody for not taking it out in 21 and 22 because you should have been taking out an RMD." That's what they came out with. They're saying, well, you should have, but you said you didn't have to. And so now, they're saying, well, we're not going to give you a penalty for 2023 either, but you're going to have to start taking it out in 2024. And still, within the 10 years, you have to get rid of it by the 10th year. So, IRS doesn't kind of know what one hand is doing with the other.
Right. And, people that are in that situation, I just say, make sure you're talking to someone who understands the details in that so you don't get in trouble. But also, that'll certainly impact their taxable income over the next 6 years. We touched this last year. This is basically being pushed off another year. What this impacts the most are those people who are making a fair amount of income by selling a whole bunch of stuff through eBay, through Craigslist, through some other online services. And in the past, there have been fairly high limits on that before any, like eBay had to report anything. They're looking to change that law to lower it significantly. They were going to do it last year. They knew people didn't have time. Apparently, either there's still enough confusion or other stuff around it that it's not being implemented for 23. Expectation is it will come into account for 24. Of course, anytime you have income, you're supposed to already be reporting it regardless of whether the entity you're selling it through gives you paperwork or not.
Yeah, we got letters. CIDER got letters from both Square and PayPal because we accept payments from those services.
Yes.
Saying that they were going to send us a 1099 if our income exceeded the 600. Is it $600 limit?
Yes. Yeah, that's yep. That's what they're headed for is 600.
Fortunately, we don't exceed that, so we don't have to worry about it.
And in this case, with the status, it wouldn't affect. But yeah, that's exactly the kind of reporting. And here, as you can see, prior to this, it's been over 20. Again, they're looking to lower to 600, but that is not in effect yet for the tax year 23.
So, Lyle, someone asked me, well, I have, a pretty big garage sale and I sell all these things at the garage sale. I said, well, if you're selling something more than what you bought it for, then you have to report it. But if you're selling it as a garage sale, then you're not going to hit because you're selling at lower than the purchase price than you originally paid for it. So that way you wouldn't get a 1099K or anything like that to show that you had income because you're selling it for lower than the purchase price.
Well, there's actually a yes and a no to that. Let's take exactly what you just shared, but instead, let's say that you sold that through Craigslist, and okay, you sold under the new regs we're headed for. You got $1,500. They will send you a 1099K indicating that you received that $1,500. Now you're going to need to account for the fact that that was actually at a loss, so there's no tax implication, but you're going to get a 1099K.
Right.
And this is part of, I think, why it was delayed. Payers may not, they don't know what's behind it, so they may not be identified correctly. As Ken was just sharing, if you sell personal items, you might get 1099K, but okay, so you sold a bunch of shirts for, $2 a piece and you paid $20 a piece for them. Probably not going to be much of a tax implication on that. On the other hand, if you made money on them, then that would go to Schedule D, and as noted here, for us, that would be out of scope. Again, you get into some complexities when you start dealing to that. Implementation delayed to next year. Kick the can down the road.
Lyle, can I ask a quick question
Yes.
about that? If you were to do, let's say, a garage sale and sell a bunch of old stuff, and you're selling it for less than you paid for it, but would that mean that you'd have to have, receipts for those $20 shirts that go back 10 years or something like that?
No, because that's going to, even if they were to do an audit, basically it's similar to what you would do if, Charlie, if you were filing a tax return with charitable donations where you dropped off a dozen shirts at Red Cross or any other organization. And when you do that and when you include that in your tax return, there are, comparative sales. There are other ways that you can value them, and usually that'd be in the line of what is sold at the garage sale. So you would not need to have receipts to prove that unless there was something really unusual, like, if you sold some vinyl records, you sold 10 of them for $1,200, then they might want to have a discussion.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Business meals, that's changed just a little bit. The 100% deduction that was there for food and beverages has expired. That's back to 50%. And the taxpayer has to be there, so they can't claim a business meal that they might have had for some clients and they weren't present. You got to be discussing business. The First one, the homeowner tax rebate. That was a 1-year shot last year. You may remember that in 2022, many people, I think it was in the June or July timeframe, received a check. That was a one and done kind of deal. The real property tax relief credit, that was a 3-year program and it extends in 2023. Again, I think Ken will share in my rejoicing that that will be done. One of our two key struggles that occur with that, one is people don't bring in all their paperwork. And we have tools that for the most part, we can go look it up, but that's more time, it's more clicks. It restricts how many people we can serve. So it really tends to bog things down. The other interesting part of this is that, and I shared this last year, but I'll touch it. If you're getting the low income senior reduction on your property taxes, somebody in Albany said, well, gee, they're paying so few property taxes now, they don't qualify for this credit. Gee, that's not right. So we have to go calculate how much the credit was, how much it lowered their property taxes, add that back in as if they had paid them, and then use that number to determine if they qualify for the credit. My experience is almost all seniors who qualify for the low income senior exemption qualify for the credit because they have low income and now we're jacking up the property taxes. They end up qualifying for that credit that can be anywhere between $250 and $350. Healthcare worker bonus, that gets some special handling. That runs out at the end of next year. As I said, rebate credit expired. Property tax credit, that's a 3-year program, expires essentially with these tax returns that we're filing. One of the things we're being very careful on, we're telling them all, you know, you've been getting, several of them have been getting $300, $350 back each of the last 3 years. It's like, this is the end of it. You're not going to see it next year. Someone say, well, why did they quit that? Well, the government, they like to give away free money, but there's sometime a limit. And this is the one I was just touching on. I had forgotten I had the slide in here for more details of, you know, we have to add that back in for the senior exemption. And it's funny that they decided that if you don't qualify to get at least $250 back, then you don't get any back. And it capped at $350. Rule of thumb, essentially, if you look at how much property tax was paid and you take 6% of their adjusted gross off it, if that number is not greater than $1,800, you're not getting anything. That's the form if you do your own taxes and you own a home. You should be familiar with this because you show what the taxes are that you're actually paying. Don't get thrown off if you're doing your own taxes by this one. There are 2 types of star credit, star relief that people receive. The original program, what that did was provided a reduction in their property taxes that they were paying. So right on the bill, it would say, you know, star credit reduction, and you'd see $1,000, $1,200, $1,600 reduction. That has transitioned for new people coming on to a star credit, where in September they actually receive a check. So in this instance, if the person, here's your total paid, if you received a check, then you have to put that in here because the actual property taxes you paid are obviously the actual payment you made less the check you received back. Another thing to do a heads up on is I believe you have an option. If you're getting the star reduction, I recommend that you touch base with your assessor to see if you can switch to the credit. And you might say, well, why would I want to do that? Those who are getting the exemption, that exemption is fixed. It's never going to go up. If you're getting the check, over time, as property values go up, as taxes go up, that star credit will continue to increase with the cost of living. So it's worth paying attention to. Again, And this, even if you're doing your own taxes, as an example, most of us just a couple of weeks ago paid our property taxes in the end of January, early February. That's not the number here. You want the one that you paid in January of 2023. So make sure you're using the right bill when you do this. Make sure you're paying attention to that STAR. If you get the STAR reduction check in September, that's in your calculation. On our side of town, we don't see much of this. Ken, you may see more of this with the clientele that you get through your sites, but this required some additional handling in terms of New York State, in terms of forgiveness for healthcare workers, and they received a special bonus, and how that gets handled for subtractions to make sure they're not overtaxed on it. If you fall into this, do some research to make sure that you don't pay more taxes than you need to. One last item I'll touch on a little deeper. Gambling losses. This is always an interesting one.
For Bob. It's for Bob.
That's right,
What's that?
just for Bob.
Bob, take note.
Well,
Bob's a
Bob,
gambler.
pay attention here. So I was somewhat surprised when I started into AARP just how many of these that we see. It's we see a lot of people who, hey, you know what, they enjoy doing it. Most of them are very responsible. But a couple of things to remember is, yep, you can take the losses to reduce your taxable income, but oh, by the way, only up to the amount of your winnings and only as an itemized deduction. So if you went and spent $10,000 and you won 6, you can't deduct 10, you can only deduct the 6. Now, here's a little twist that's important to pay attention to. You can reduce the amount won by the cost of the specific wager. So, what I use as an example here, let's say you bought into a Super Bowl pool, you paid $250 for a square, you ended up winning $1,000. You declare that $1,000 of income. I'm sure everybody does this in football pools. It might be a little more if you're getting a 1099 2G, but the point is that you declare the $1,000 of income, then under miscellaneous income, you would indicate, cost of gambling winning, and that would be, you would enter a minus 250. We actually do that. We actually enter a minus number in an income field. This is also interesting. Professional gamblers actually can handle that as a business. Essentially, you treat it as a business. You traveled somewhere for a poker tournament, travel, all of that ends up being a business expense. So we have a number of tax preparation tools. We're continuing to make a lot of advances. Let's face it, over the years, they've gone from paper preparation to, we did a paper prep and mail the return, computer prep and mail the return, to computer prep with e-file. Now everything's in the cloud. Essentially, our Chromebooks are just terminals that we're using to do this. We have superb reference materials. I mean, with links, just about anything that comes up, we're only a few clicks from being able to get some very authoritative and good direction on how we handle that. So we don't have to memorize everything. We just need to remember where to go to find it. We have some key tools that are called Bogart tools. These help us. Someone takes, and it has an annuity, and they started taking it 5 years ago. And so all of what they received as a distribution is not taxable because they had a contribution to that. What portion of money they put in that was already taxed is that reduction? This tool allows us to walk through that very easily and calculate that. Also, the stuff that many of us find the most difficult is, we prepare our personal returns. We're not worried about, is the person a dependent? Are they a qualifying relative? Do they qualify me for a child tax credit? That can be very complicated stuff. And this dependent qualification calculator, again, walks us all through that. So we have excellent tools to help us find that. We also have a tool if we've got a distribution from a company and the person either didn't get the official form or they're not sure of the EIN, that we can look that up. As I said, we have a Kaplan tool that gives us a gateway to just about everything. So we have tremendous resources to help us through these areas. If you're looking for a site, go to aarp.org/tax aid. You can also do AARP locator. A number of searches will get you to where you then come up to show, oh, okay, so these are the sites that we have in our area. Number 3, that's at the Greece Baptist Church. This one is the Gates Town Hall. This one is at Spencerport Fire District 3. I actually manage the one out in Riga near Churchville, as well as the one at the new Child Eye Community Center. So you see one up in Hilton, over in Irondequoit. These are the sites that we now have in the Rochester area. Basically, you put in your zip, you indicate how close you want to look for it, and it brings up those sites. So that can be a valuable tool to help you find out where we're located. You come across questions, by all means, you can find a way to get to me. Ken's at virtually all your meetings as well, and he's gone from a novice to being very knowledgeable on this as well. So feel free to reach out when you have questions. So fire away with the ones I blew through.
If anybody still wants to sign up, please do it tomorrow, because I know in Pittsford, I think we're all filled up for the rest of the year. Henrietta, I have to look tomorrow, but I think we only have like 4 or 5 slots available for the rest of the year. That's usually like the last week we do it. So all the sites around Rochester are filling. So if you want to get it done, try to do it ASAP.
Now you see, I could throw Ken under the bus and say, well, if you were truly a friend to him, then he would have the option of doing a friend and family to help you out directly. They didn't go through the site.
That is true. That is so true.
All right,
What else
Lyle.
were you maybe thinking in the back of your head? Gee, I hope he hits this that we didn't cover this evening as we sort of went through. Like I said, I was going to go through that pretty quick, hoping to just hit some of the highlights. And then if you have specific questions, we can come back and try to hit those.
Now, didn't I read something about that there was going to be more deductions for starting 2024 as far as like a married couple or something like that? I read it in the AARP magazine.
Probably what you were reading was just the cost of living indices that constantly go up. So the standard deductions that you get, whether you're, married, whether you're single, all those categories, all of those numbers ratchet up every year based on the cost of living index.
Okay, that's probably what I saw.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you saw this, that Congress is enacting a bill that will allow for this year, for 2023, additional child tax credit.
Right, I did see that, but don't.
That's one thing that they're doing. It's not finalized yet, and they're saying you don't have to wait to do your taxes. They'll figure out a way to get that credit back.
I think this group is well beyond having children on their tax.
Hey, you never know.
I don't know. Is my son still young enough that he could move home and I can take him as a deduction?
Under certain conditions, the answer would be yes, but I think he's too healthy to be able to qualify.
Yeah, I think so.
Which is a good thing.
Yes.
But yeah, to the point Ken raised on that, when the IRS has indicated that if and when Congress passes that, basically they expect to have the ability to essentially go back through, run the returns back through their calculator, pick the ones up that would have qualified, and mail out refunds as appropriate. So they do not at the moment expect to need any amended returns, as opposed to what we ran into, I think it was 3 years ago, when they retroactively changed the treatment of unemployment income.
Right.
And one other thing, if you're doing your own taxes, and if you're using a program, a lot of programs will say, especially when you get to New York State, to put in your driver's license. You say, what do I need to put my driver's license information for? And this is for fraud. In case, and especially if you're getting a refund, you should put in that license information, and this will kind of match up. So if somebody else is trying to use your name on a tax return or their whatever and have the money sent to them, this will kind of, stop that.
Yeah, that was a big problem last year, wasn't it? Where people were filing fraudulent tax returns, and then when the real person tries to file it, they get a "you've already filed" message.
You get that, plus you also, 2 years ago, they had a big thing with unemployment, where people were claiming unemployment for other people and getting the money.
I got something from Colorado telling me that I was applying for unemployment. And I was like, what? I don't live in Colorado. And they had a number on there saying, if you think this is fraudulent, let them know. And I did. And that was the end of it. But I was like, what? So obviously somebody was trying to file for unemployment with my name and numbers or whatever. Now, see, if I was a fraudulent person, I could have said, sure, and collected unemployment from another state. And they may never have caught me.
Well, you wouldn't have collected it. It would have gone to somebody else's bank account.
No, it was saying that I applied for it, which meant I would have gotten the money.
Oh, I know. But they would have another bank account number.
Oh, yes, because
yeah.
I thought I might get it, but it would go to them.
No.
Yeah,
it would have been them with their bank account number.
Right.
To the point, Steve, that you raised, one of the other things to just keep in mind is when indeed someone does get a hold of a Social Security number, file a fraudulent return, returns bounce, the IRS then issues what's called a security PIN. That security PIN is as needed when we're filing a return. IRS automatically mails a new PIN to those taxpayers in January of every year. So if a client had a security PIN for 2022, when they come in this year and we're doing their taxes, we say, okay, where's your PIN for this year? Oh, well, use the same one as last year. No, it's a new PIN that they receive in the mail every year automatically in January. And now here comes the wrinkle. They've also now opened it up to say, you know what, if you'd like your tax returns to be even more secure, you can volunteer to get a PIN. So you can say, yeah, I haven't been hacked yet, but boy, I don't want to. I want you to give me a PIN for do my taxes. So you get a PIN number, you file your taxes. Next year, when January rolls around, you do not receive a PIN in the mail. You need to go online and request a new PIN every year to file your tax returns. So very different than if you got hacked as to if you decide to do it voluntarily. Seems like a strange way to do business to me, but.
Lyle, am I wrong that you can't opt out?
Well, the gentleman who was leading our training, he's currently manages the site in Greece, decided to try it. So he signed up for that a year or two ago. He has not been able to find any way to opt out. It appears that once you're in, you're in. So he went in voluntarily. He hasn't been able to find a way to get out of it.
So he can't leave voluntarily either.
That's what he's finding out so far. Hasn't found the golden doorway.
That could be good or bad.
And, he was fine with it. He expected it would be treated like all the other security pins, and he'd automatically receive one in January, only to learn that, oh, no, you have to request it every year.
And one of the problems I think we have, a lot of people, they don't know if they had a security PIN or not. Even though they have one and they get one, they're not sure.
Well, if they got something in the mail, I would think they would know they got something in the mail.
I love your optimism.
We asked people, 2 years ago or last year, did you get the homeowner's property tax credit check in May, whatever? No, I never got anything. I said it would have been a big check. like 800, over $1,000. No, I didn't get anything. And we look up the tax, New York tax site, and sure enough, they got it.
They just thought it free money came in the mail.
Well, they don't remember, and I don't know.
I think I'd remember a check, a big check. If it was for
to
$20, I might not.
That happens all the time.
Now, I had a friend who thought that they were going to get that tax refund. They never got it. And I said, well, just go to your tax office and they will tell you why you got it. Or maybe you didn't qualify for it, because there was qualifications for it, right? Yes. And I went online because my friend asked me and said, can you look it up? And I did. And I said, well, I don't know what money they make or whatever to say whether they qualify. And said, go down to your local, tax collector and ask them, and they can look it up. But I don't know if they ever did.
Yeah, we have clients who qualify for the low-income senior exemption, and they qualify for the enhanced star, and their enhanced star on their school taxes essentially zeroes out school taxes. In that case, they did not receive a rebate check.
Right.
There's nothing to rebate.
Right.
One thing, our software, I haven't actually run into it yet this year, but allegedly our software this year, when we have what's called carry forward, so returning clients, when we put in their social security number, it comes back, it knows their name, address, which investments they had, if they'd worked somewhere, automatically comes in. None of the data, none of the numbers, just the companies they had dealt with. And this year, our tax software is supposed to know if they had a PIN last year, and then tell us, hey, this person had a PIN last year, make sure you get it. So that'd be a big help.
Yes, because that way you can say, yes, it says you did, whether you remember or not, you did.
Exactly.
So that's good. So
to the point Ken raised, remember when everybody was receiving $1,400 per person?
Yeah.
We had a lot of couples come in who got $2,800, and what Ken just said, no, I didn't get that. I never got it. And
right.
So it's their return. We would indicate on the tax return they didn't get it. And then 3 months later, they'd say, well, when you did my taxes, you indicated I was going to get $2,800 back. I got a letter from the IRS saying I don't qualify. I said, well, remember our discussion? You already received those checks. That's why you're not getting more with the filing of the taxes.
So you're not going to get away with it.
Yeah, and that's what we tell them. We said, it's your return, you're signing it, but we're telling you right now, you probably got it in there somewhere.
They know better. You can't pretend I lost my memory.
Hey,
thinking they're stupid enough to know that you already paid them, right?
Right.
We get a number of people who, like say in 21 or 22, did not file.
Right.
And they want to go back and file. Can they still get that stimulus money if they go back and file in 21 and 22?
Yes. Yeah, we did some last year that were going back a year or two, and they did get the stimulus money.
Right. I knew last year you could, but I wasn't sure how far you could go.
Yeah, you can go back to 2020.
Yeah, but how
But
far?
For how many years out can you do it?
For how many years? Like if I try to go back and file in 2025 for 22 or 21.
Well, in 25 you couldn't go back to 20 because that would be 4 years.
4 years, only 3 years.
So you can go back 3 years from an amended return. Now, if they never filed at all, you can go back further, and is there some point where they would no longer honor the stimulus? My answer would be I don't know. I mean, last year we did returns for one gentleman that went back to 2018. So we did like 5 returns for him because he had money withheld, never filed, and so he got money back in each of those years.
Wouldn't that raise more questions about why didn't you file, and maybe you owe us?
Well, except that in this case, since he didn't owe, and who knows what kind of shape the IRS is in, Congress continues to cut their funding. I mean, why would you want to fund an organization that brings in more money than it costs to fund them? So you try applying logic to government entities, and it usually doesn't end well.
Yeah.
Yeah, just take a look at our tax code.
Oh, yeah. Anything else, folks?
Well,
No.
thank you so much, Lyle, for giving us the lowdown. And I do have a question. Is it worth it to, if you're giving donations to like Goodwill and stuff during the year, to actually keep track of them? Because is it add up to anything? I mean, when you're not really, like before you could list it and, deduct it and everything, but now you can't. But so is it worth it to still keep doing it?
For 95% of filers, the answer is no.
Okay.
It depends on how much you're giving elsewhere, but married couples now, you're up close to $30,000 for your standard deduction. So that says medical above the 7.5% of AGI threshold, plus property taxes, plus charitable giving. Everything else has to add up over 30 if you're filing a married joint. For New York State, it's 16,000 married joint that you got to get above. So it really depends on how much giving you're doing. But for most people, the answer is it's not worth the headache of trying to track those details.
Right. You're donating a box of books, or you're donating old clothes. It's like, it's not worth.
Right.
Do you have, $5,000 worth of stuff, or whatever? Most people do not have that much at all.
I tell people, they ask me, well, should I, save the records? I said, it's always a good idea to save the records that you have. You never know. Congress could come back up and say, 2 years ago, they gave everybody, even if they did a standard deduction, the first year was $300. And then the next year it was $600 if you're filing jointly. And you didn't really even have to, you just say, yeah, $600. I pay, church every week. And we put that in. And that was nice because nobody really had to keep records. And that's a big job if you give a lot of charity to keep all those records and try to figure out how much is in this bag and how much is in this bag.
Well, I did that.
Yeah.
Remember having lists of this and figuring out like how much is in this bag, and like you said, and having bag after bag of clothes and stuff, and then have all these papers to bring to have your taxes done. Like, it was a headache, really, but
it was.
But now because they always say when you donate, do you want a receipt? And I'm like, now I say no because, But then other people tell me, yes, you should do it. So
I get the receipt, if nothing else. As Ken said, if things change, there's a point where if it changed, you took advantage of it. They came to do an audit. If you have those receipts for the previous 3 or 4 years, you have receipts showing that this is a normal activity for you. You've been donating every year on a regular basis. So this particular year, when they allowed this new deduction, is nothing special. You've been doing it right along. So
okay, I see.
Again, I would hold on to it just because things change, and sometimes having that documentation is enough to show good intent. I would correct Ken a little last year. Yeah, do I know if everybody had documentation when they claimed that they donated $600 of cash to charities? I'm sure some of them didn't, but they are required to have that documentation. If those folks got audited and they couldn't show anything to back up the fact they had made those, they would be disallowed.
Okay.
Odds of being audited, probably pretty close to the same as winning the lottery.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Well, again, thank you so much, Lyle, for doing this for us every year. And it's good that you're booked up already. So that's good. Oh, Steve. So again, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Do we want to take a break now in between for Marty's demonstration, or? of about what? It's 10 to 9.
Yeah, it's getting late, so maybe a quick break. I know people might need
All
potty
right.
breaks and refill. How are you doing, Marty? How's your battery?
I question how late we go here, and wondering whether or not we need to do the presentation at another time.
Um, we can go as late as people want. So we don't have a building we have to be out of, so that was kind of handy.
Yeah.
Do you have a well, semi-formal presentation, or was it just going to be first looks?
You know, I have a list of things that people might be interested in, but I can always just turn it over to ask questions about it and go from there.
I don't want. We used to go until 10. So if we take a
Oh, really?
yeah.
Okay.
But that
Okay.
depends on you if you want to go and
No,
Yeah.
let's take a 5-minute break or whatever, and then
okay.
we'll see how it goes.
All right. Very
Okay.
good.
And
Let's do that then. So let's come back at 5 to 9.
alrighty. And I am going to. Do I have a mute all? Yes, I have a mute all.
It was interesting, Charlie, that you said they brought up that Form 8880 because that didn't have anything to do with you at this point. So they were just complicating your life with that.
Yeah, like I say, it was confusing, and just the wording of it was strange. Did you get any? And again, I may have misinterpreted what it was saying, because what it really should have been asking, and one of those questions at least, it was, did you contribute to any of these funds before the deadline for tax year 2023 or something like that? But the way it struck me, or the way I interpreted it, was, did you receive like any RMDs or whatever from these things?
Right. Yeah.
Before the deadline. And so next year, if I'm, I should live so long and I'm still using them, which I probably will. If I hit that thing, I'll do a screenshot of it to. But at least my understanding is that it didn't really apply to me, and apparently I got away with it okay. So
right.
Thanks for
I'd say you're good to go.
But like I say, I've got the refund check already, and so I should be good. Yeah. And I mailed my $6 payment to the state of New York for line 59, the online sales tax stuff. Is that is $6 or $9 or something like that? But
you're a generous man.
Yeah, I suspect that a lot of people using using software like this are not even paying attention to that. You have to go looking for it. And the other thing that's interesting is that, it in the state return, it mentions that the maximum you can deduct from your income is $20,000, but it doesn't really emphasize it. Do you want to take $20,000 off your income? You just have to. There's a space to do it, but you have to remember to do it.
Right. That is one of the areas where packages, I've never used Tax Cut, but certainly TurboTax will walk you through that. And they'll be very explicit about asking you those questions. Like, gee, I see you have retirement income. Shouldn't you be taking this, $20,000 exclusion for New York State? So those packages which you pay for, will actually walk you through that.
Right. And there is a screen for that in the online taxes flow that, has the space to do it, but you just need to, I don't know if you don't do it, I'm not sure that it will do anything except just go forward and then tell you that you owe New York State income tax, Those people must go nuts because, first of all, it's a seasonal business. So they're employing all these people for who knows what part of the year for a crush that hits in like the end of January. And second of all, they're dealing with like 50 different states. And oh my God, they must go nuts. And the big challenge of it every year is logging into the account, because there are always new security wrinkles and just weird. And they use two different kinds of PIN numbers. There's the PIN number that the government gives you, and I don't have that yet. And I guess I'm not going to go looking for it until after I get my identity stolen. But there's another one for either, I don't know if it's for just the federal or state or the whole thing, but where you make up a PIN number. And I do that, and I don't know where that applies unless you end up contacting them with questions about your return, and they ask you for it, afterward. I don't know, but
they grab and say value to them. No clue what they serve, but we make them up all the time.
Yeah. While we have a quiet moment here, Steve, I'm going to give you a heads up on this. It's not something we need to do this week, but next week at the board meeting, I'm going to need to ask you. It looks like Google has improved the drive, and I can't figure out how the hell to get into it. Yeah. So next week at the board meeting, at some point, I'll hopefully do like a presenter screen sharing thing and try to go into the drive and you can tell me what I'm doing. Thanks for your help with that little external SSD last month. I have managed to put stuff into it, and
Oh, good.
I am really enjoying looking at the bike paths I rode down this past summer when everything was green and sunny and warm and beautiful.
Yeah, Matthew got me a action cam for Christmas that it had a bike helmet mount with Velcro straps for the holes in the bike helmet, and it had a bike handlebar mount. But I need to get a dashboard mount and a baseball cap mount. It had a adhesive mount you can put on your dashboard, but the glue doesn't stick very long. So for a couple of days I was using it as a dash cam, and realizing that you have to get a lot of dash cam video before you find something interesting like you see on those dash cam videos.
Oh yeah, or drive around in Russia where everybody's crashing into each other constantly.
Yep. All right. Is everybody just about back? Shirley is doing the laundry, folding laundry, so she'll be a little while. I gotta say, Marty, when I saw your avatar there was AVP, my first thought was Alien versus Predator, because I'm not used to the Apple Vision Pro acronym yet.
Yeah, a lot of people are not confused, but that's the first thing they think of is I'm going to take the earbud, at least one earbud out. My dog was going nuts, thinking there was another person in the room they couldn't find when the speaker sound was coming out of this Vision Pro. So I put my AirPods in so she wouldn't have to listen to the stranger in the room. Oh yeah, but Alien versus Predator is where a lot of people jump to when they hear AVP. Remember, it's Apple Vision Pro. It's not just Vision Pro.
Right.
Apple, in terms of its marketing, wants to be really clear that people use the Apple stuff. So
one of the things we actually talking about at work today is there were several videos. Marquez Brownlee did a good one about the scary eyes. So your eyes, the camera display of your eyes on that screen that's in the front of the Apple Vision doesn't work very well, and that could easily be removed and say take $500 off the price of next year's Apple Vision, no Pro.
yeah, you have to. I mean, there are cameras facing in. So when I blink my eyes, if you look at my avatar, I'm blinking my eyes. Those are cameras facing in towards my eyes, recognizing that movement. They also have they have Vision ID, which is different than Touch ID. We're familiar with that. And, typical password ID. But it is really a scan of, people are saying retina, but I think it's iris patterns. I don't think it's getting back into the back of your eye and doing the retinal scan. I think it's looking at the color and shape of irises, which are also very unique. So, yeah, the scary eyes thing, I think the next step with that, and who knows, we're going to see Apple Vision Pro 2.0 come out. It would be nice to have an off switch for it. Apple, if you look at other headsets like Metaverse or Meta 3, and any of the metas, really, they completely block out any connecting eyes or anything like that. And the intent, I think, on Apple's part was to try and give the person who's talking to you while you have these things on that there's still a sense of a person behind that. But most people don't like the scary eyes. What do they call it? Scary Valley?
The Uncanny Valley.
And Caddy Valley, yeah. And so they don't, most folks don't like it. And just a simple software could fix that and switch it off if if they wanted to put that into software.
So I think
I don't know how they. I don't know how they reduce the price of this. I don't know what you take away from it that would allow a price reduction without significantly affecting the quality of it. But I'm sure they want to get a more marketable version of it.
Pardon me,
so,
I'm going to interrupt for a second just to mention that, Steve, if you can raise your volume level any for the YouTube, that would be good. You're audible, but the audience is louder than you, and that's good too. So anyway, enough about that. Thank you.
Okay. I'm happy to talk about this for a while, take a break, take questions. And I have two cameras going. I have a laptop with, and I'm linked into you through that laptop, so you're seeing what I look like in real life right now in my living room. And then you also have and that's Marty webcam, if you're looking for that. And then you have Martin AVP, which is the persona that Apple's created. The joke that's going about the persona is they had a 1.0 version of the persona that everybody hated. And then a week later, they came out with another version of the software, a slight modification of the software. And the personas are much better now. And if you look at me in real life and you look at my persona, to be honest with you, I look like I've lost 10 pounds in my persona. And the joke was, well, of course you lost 10 pounds. You have that heavy headset on your head all the time.
And I was remarking that you may look a little younger in the persona than you are, but I've never seen you in person. It's only been through a video screen.
It does. It's like, it's like they smeared a little Vaseline on the lens for your close-up, which is okay. At my age, it's appreciated.
Marty, the Martin AVP, is that the one you're calling your persona?
That's my persona. This is actually being projected. I mean, I signed in through the headset, through the Vision Pro. And so if I was to go on Teams or if I was to go on Zoom, this would be what would come across on Zoom.
Which is your face without the headset on.
Without the headset on. And the way that's done is when you set up the Vision Pro, they ask you to set up a persona. And they takes you through a step where you actually take the headset off and face it towards you, and it has like a group of vibrating rings to kind of let you know when you've got it in the right place, and it will ask you to turn to the right, turn to the left, look up, look down. Then they want you to smile, smile with your mouth closed, and then smile with your mouth open. My jaw doesn't have those muscles to do any of that, but so here I'll try a smile. It looks kind of ridiculous. And then they want you to look up with your eyes and then close your eyes for a while, and they capture all that material, and that becomes this generated. Now, as I'm speaking with you, there are cameras looking at my eyes, so if I blink, there are also cameras looking down at my mouth to notice my mouth movements, and all of that gets put into what you're seeing when you look at Martin AVP.
Right. So what it is doing is taking all that stuff it learned about what your face looks like, and then once you have the headset on, if you do one of those actions, it does that with your persona.
Exactly. It's in that sense, it's pretty cool.
There were a couple of things on some of the blogs I was reading where they were wondering why Apple didn't allow your Memoji. So they put all this effort into letting you build a Memoji on your phone, but not letting it on the Apple Vision Pro, where that uncanny valley wouldn't matter because it's obviously a cartoon representation. It's not supposed to be you.
Yeah, I think Apple's really trying to make itself distinct because it has the built-in technology to do it, and a Memoji doesn't need that kind of built-in technology, but it's making itself distinct in using it. Versus if you're familiar with Meta, they have room, and I played golf on Meta. It's great. But basically, it's half of my body as an animated person. It's not me, and it doesn't look anything like me in particular. So I think this is just some of the ways that Apple's trying to make itself a little more distinct.
Now, could
Yeah,
you
I
have
mean,
set up your avatar, whatever, is a dog face? Would that have worked?
I don't know. I've got a pet here. Maybe I should change my persona, but I got to get my pet to put its eyes up, put its eyes down, and all that. And see.
And
Well, if you
smile.
wore it for long enough, it would probably do that.
Well,
Just want to know, do you play better at golf?
I don't. I'm not a very good golfer in real life, and I got pretty good. I mean, it took a little muscle memory on Meta to be able to do that. I want to give a real clear distinction because one of the first set of comparisons that came out that said, let's compare Meta 3 to Apple Vision Pro. Meta 3 is a virtual reality headset. It has pass-through, which means as I'm here speaking to you, I've got screens up floating in the air in front of me, but I can still see the rest of my living room. And if I'll try that switch over and see if you can see what I'm seeing through the Apple Vision Pro. One of the problems with doing that is, although it's a very smooth picture for me, it might be rather jittery for you. So, looking at some of the videos that Apple's produced, they're not doing it through the lens because they can't do it through they're getting it some other way. So, it's Meta is a virtual reality, augmented reality with pass-through. Apple Vision Pro is a new computing platform. Meta happens to have a $1,000 headset that they don't talk about. It's on the market. You can go and you can purchase it, and it has better screens for you to see. It has some better cameras, but it's still not a computing device. It has some apps like Monday, which is a app that's used for businesses will use it, and teams will use it and work with Monday. But it's not in itself a computing device. So when people start talking about, well, Apple's so expensive, look, and you could get the same thing with a $500 Meta headset. You're not getting that. They're comparing apples to oranges in the process. So those articles are a little frustrating.
I read an interesting description once that they called it an iPad for your face. So it's basically an iPad, but you wear it close enough that you see this the spatial world around you.
Yeah, I have right now 2 windows open. I have the screen for this meeting that's open. I was uncertain whether or not I'd be able to do my persona through this. And then I have floating next to it my Apple Notes, where I have the notes for this presentation laid out, so I can glance over there and figure out where I'm going, if I'm going anywhere with this. It's a little different than an iPad for your face, in the sense that I can grab bars, and if I look at them,
Nope, we just lost your AVP.
okay.
So watch him clicking his fingers. That's the interface because there's no mouse.
Yeah, and I'm back in. I don't know. I was trying to pull the screen over and instead wound up shutting off the audio and doing some other things. But I can move these, screens all over. I can put one in front of another, so I can layer them in a way. And it's just it's a different computing environment. So
How comfortable is it to wear?
I'm wearing the Solo Loop band. I don't know if I turn, maybe you can see it in the other. Everybody said, "Oh, the Solo Loop band, it's tight on your face," and I think that's true. The other band is this dual loop band, and frankly, Meta uses that type of construction. What I've seen come out and sold by third-party developers or third-party folks is a band that you can attach here and does the same thing without doing the dual loop band instead of the I am not finding the problems with it in terms of weight or comfort that other folks are.
Because there's a lot of technology in that knit band to stretch and shrink and the little knobby thing.
Yeah, there's a dial on the side that tightens it and loosens it, and occasionally it will give you not a warning, of a screen will come up and say you might want to adjust this a little bit because it's recognizing that it's not getting the contacts with your eyes that it had, because maybe it slipped down a little bit or you've raised it. Again, you make selections by looking at something.
How long can you
So,
wear it
when I
for?
want to turn my audio on and off, I look down at the little microphone, which is now blue on mine, and it kind of highlights. And if I tap my fingers together when it's down there, it will turn it off or turn it on. If I want to go through a listed menu of things that are in a particular app, I look up and down and you can see the highlight change for the different folders. I'm looking over at my notes app. And if I want to go to that folder, then I do the 2-finger tap. And, again, the idea of just kind of reaching, putting your, getting a bar that's at the bottom of the window, putting your fingers together and just moving it around the room. Once you've grabbed it and dropping it either close to your face or far away from your face, whatever you want. It's just, when people talk about the price, what I tell them is that check you were going to give your grandkids, they don't need it. They haven't been that good to you anyways. Instead, go out and buy yourself a toy. I would say this is not for everybody, but this is a completely new platform, and it really is part of the future. I'm starting to do some productivity stuff on it. I have Fantastical up, and so I'm doing my calendar. I'm doing text messaging through there. The typing on it is terrible, so you can Bluetooth yourself a keyboard to it and set that up and work through it that way. But the other little floating type pad that they have, you can reach out and touch it and type like that single one, but generally the way it's done is looking at the key, fixating on whatever key it is, seeing it that it's highlight, and then tapping your fingers together, And when you do that, it enters that. So the problem is there's some muscle memory learning for me that I can move my eyes faster across the keyboard, tap my fingers, and it doesn't register, or it registers on a different key. So I haven't quite paired my eye movement with the responsiveness of the keyboard with my finger tap.
Marty,
Siri
I
and
have,
I'm sorry, the S Lady works pretty well. So I can look at the little microphone on most apps, and I can input just through voice, and it will go where I want it to go with that, or type in text that I want it to type in.
Marty, a quick question about the hand gestures and the tapping your fingers together or moving your hands around. It's figuring all that out through cameras on the front of the device.
Right, on the lower portion of the device. Now, a bad habit that I have is I constantly put my thumb to my second finger. So I will tap that and nothing happens. And I'll keep tapping and I'm like, why isn't this taking? And then I'll realize I should be doing my index finger and my thumb. So it won't recognize any finger on your hand doing that, only the index finger.
And you've been wearing
Did
it
you
since
have
we
to
started
do
the
anything
meet.
similar to, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Charlie, with
Did
your
you have
follow-up.
to do, Steve, go ahead.
Back and forth. I would say you've been wearing that since the meeting started, so we're about
Yeah, and if I look up, I've got like 43% power on it left.
and it's still comfortable. You haven't got too annoyed by it yet.
No, I haven't gotten annoyed by it. And I took this on a plane with me because I was at a conference in Portland this weekend, and watched Guardians of the Galaxy 3 in 3D. You know, you if you look at some of the ads and you watch people, you see what Apple is promoting, that you can have this big wide screen, you can take and put in an environment around it so you can hide yourself in that environment, or the things around you don't distract you. Movies on this thing are incredible. They're really incredible. And that, you know, that trip out to Portland, I got one battery's worth for a movie that was 200. Well, I got a little bit more than one battery's worth for 2 hours and 45 minutes. So it holds up pretty well. I bought a second battery because I wanted battery backup. And then watched another movie on the way back. It's just the entertainment function of this is good.
And you can plug it in and use it off AC power for unlimited, right?
Yeah, you can. I haven't tried that yet. I mean, this is the battery, and there is a charging port in it, and you would essentially take the charging port. Looking at my thing here. You essentially take that and put in. It ships with a 30-watt adapter and a cable to go with it. That's sort of standard charging, but I've heard that you can fast charge these if you want to fast charge them.
So what's the
Quick
longest that you
question.
can wear it before you feel like, oh, I really have to take this off. It's bothering me.
The battery runs out before I feel like I have to take it off.
Okay.
I just got a notification that came up. I'm at 20%. So I thought I was at 43. That was the last time I checked, but I'm at 20%. I haven't had a problem going a full battery length with it. I think brakes are good, and you know, I'm glad that the flight to Portland wasn't that long from Cleveland or from Chicago to Portland. It gave me about an hour on the plane without a device. So yeah, I mean, I haven't had the exhaustion. People, you know, like I can only wear it for a half hour. That's not the device for you. and again, I'm still wearing the solo loop. I haven't really switched to the dual loop as it.
Charlie
How
had a question.
difficult is it to put on and take off?
How easy or how difficult?
How easy or difficult?
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
It's real easy. I mean, there's a little, I can stretch it and do it without doing it. I shouldn't do that. There's a little circular dial here that you just turn and it loosens and tightens the band around your head.
Okay.
So and
easy to
similar,
do.
it really is. It's scary easy in that sense that it just goes on. For those that don't feel secure enough with that or feel like the weight is too much, this throws the weight to the back of your head and balances it a little bit better for them, this dual loop band. It comes with both bands. It comes with the solo loop, solo knit, and it comes with this dual loop. But I put this on once or twice just because I wanted to check it and see what it was like, and have not. Once I took it off the headset, I didn't feel a need to put it back on for any compelling reason.
So it's just a bit of a counterweight.
Well, it has a lower. It sits, whereas this sits like right across the back.
Mm-hmm.
This band here, it sits a little lower on your head. I'm trying to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it holds it up a little bit, and that seems to be easier for folks.
Go ahead and jump in, Charlie.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. No, that's all right. Thank you, Steve. A question about the hand gestures again. You know how essentially you had to train the device to recognize your face for your persona. Did you also have to train the device to recognize your hand gestures? Because I noticed that sometimes, you're just gesticulating as you speak. And I'm wondering whether that's, ripping stuff around in front of you and the view or not. And I have a second question while I have the floor here. And that is, damn, that sucker's trying to get away on me. Okay. Oh, yeah. Is any kind of vision correction necessary to use this thing? Like in terms of glasses?
Great questions. First question is, no, there was no hand training that you need. Oh, let me correct that. When you first put it on and you train the device, you have to put your hands out in front of you. That's one of the steps of training it. There's the hands are the first part. The second part is it has like it sets a low, dark sort of background, and it gives you a circle of dots. And you're supposed to look at each dot, and as the dot, ignites or leaps up, you're supposed to do the finger tap. So it is, I think, getting data in terms of where you look, and it's using that data. So it has it done in a low light, a medium light, and a really bright light, which makes it a little difficult because they're not doing good contrast in that bright light. So you kind of have to work that a little bit. So those are the two things, the hands and then this eye test that you do.
Does the eye test correct for any vision problems you have? Is that it, or what?
No, it will correct for the headset. If you put it in guest mode and give it to someone else, it will recognize that your eye distance is different and ask you to press a button and then it corrects it. It motors it back in. In order to do corrective vision, this was a big problem for me when I went to purchase it, do the pre-order. The pre-order, and I do a lot of pre-orders on the first days. I like to get the stuff right away and like to get on top of it. This was the worst experience I've ever had. I called Apple a couple of times the week before and got different people, obviously, but they still didn't know what to expect. I have and am wearing contacts now. The contacts are good for medium and far vision. I wear readers when I'm looking at a computer. So I use that combination because I don't do well with multi-distant lenses or looking, bifocals or trifocals, looking through a small sliver of space. So I'd rather have the readers to do that with. Well, they talk about needing a current prescription, but they're real unclear about and then they said, and then you have readers. You can get readers, inserts. So I got both. I put in my prescription thinking someday I'll not want to wear my contacts and do this. And I also got the readers. There's Zeiss lenses. I'm trying to, there they are right there.
The readers are $100 and the prescription is 150.
50. When they first talked about it, they said, "Oh, people who are going to need to get inserts, they're going to cost $700." And so we were just waiting for the sticker shock on that, and we really didn't find that out till the week before the options. But that's it. What's amazing about this, and I've got the headset and I can't show you, is you could just drop them in and it's magnetic. It connects right to the lens. The difference is if you're putting these optics in, there's a small seal right around here. You've got the light seal, which is the big section here, but then you have the small cushion. And this also comes with the device. You get two cushions. You get a cushion that is for if you're not wearing optics with it, and a cushion that's thicker if you are wearing optics with it. The light seal and the head measurement was another big problem with ordering this thing, because when you're doing the pre-order, you're putting your phone in front of you and rotating your head around, and it's measuring your head and it's saying you're a 33W.
And you have to use a device with a Face ID camera. So if you don't have a new enough device with Face ID,
right,
you have to make an appointment at Apple to get your face scanned.
Yeah. The problem is, again, this happened with the pre-order. With most pre-orders, you put your stuff in, it's in your shopping bag and you're ready to go. With this pre-order, and I called back, I'm like, "Are you going to handle this like most pre-orders?" And they're like, "Yeah." I said, "So when does the option go in for me to put this thing in my shopping bag and then just push the button at 5 in the morning?" "Oh, we're going to handle it like all other ones." I'm like, "Yeah, but tell me." And I literally had to explain to the woman on the phone the pre-order process in the shopping bags. And so I felt real frustrated going into this one. And one of them was the head sizing. They talk about how it's going to happen. They don't tell you to take your glasses off. And for those of us who do Face ID with glasses, you just assume it was there. So I scanned my head once and it was 33 wide. And then I was following and found a really good Discord group of Apple Vision Pro people. And the first thing they said was, "You got to do it with your glasses off." So I had to go back in and rescan it. I'd heard by then they're going to correct for it when you go to the store anyways. They're going to check it and make sure it's fine. So I did the rescan and I got a different size. So I ordered that, figured I could swap it out, turn it in, whatever. And then what happened was there was a delay in me getting through the at first when I signed in, they go, "Okay, you can get it on February 2nd. Well, then as I went through this problem, I had a problem with the address, which is a perennial problem on my credit card, on my Apple card. And so it kept rejecting it. And then I realized I was missing a field on it and it kept rejecting it. So when I finally got through about 15 minutes into the order had dropped to February 16th. So I'm like, okay, I'll live with it. The Discord the next morning, people were talking about it. Looks like Apple's got a whole new group of inventory that showed up because you can order it to pick up at the store still the day of. So I went in and ordered it, had to go through and measure my head again, and I got a third measurement. Uh, and I went ahead and ordered it and canceled the other order once I knew the order was accepted, and I did then pick it up on opening day with the device. So it was messy. I couldn't get anything clear on the lenses. I couldn't get anything clear on the right head size and wearing glasses or not wearing glasses with it. So it was a bit of a mess. And I can hear my dog after something. Let me go downstairs. Hold on.
We'll watch his avatar move.
No, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. We have a German Shepherd who likes to chew shit up. So apparently she's asleep and doing fine. So that came from something else.
Okay. Go
Marty,
ahead.
do you know if
Yeah.
there's any way for you to share what you're seeing over our?
Yeah, that was the next
connection
thing
here?
that I can try. What I think I'm going to do is power down the headset because I just got a 10% battery. I'm going to use my other charged battery instead of trying to tether myself to the. Oh, the other thing is, and then I'll come back on and try and with the headset and try and share that. This is the what they call affectionately the $200 marshmallow. Nobody talked about carrying devices for this. This is Johnny Ives' probably last vision for Apple was the carrying case for it. I didn't want to carry that through an airport and kind of be a target because there was concern about that. So I went ahead and got a much cheaper case for that purported would handle the headset, and it did. So this is a $40 case that I've got. So anyway, let me power this down.
So
and
so there's no battery at all in the headset? You have to have the external battery?
you have to have the external battery. However, what we're starting to see again are third-party options where people have put batteries on straps, so you can walk it around like you've got you've got a little donut on your head.
I thought the original announcement they were talking about, there was a battery in it, and you had the external battery for longer time. But apparently not.
Yeah, no, apparently not. Okay, so I'm going to stay on with the with this camera, with my webcam, power this down, and then I'll have to power back on and sign up. But with the camera, with this off, and you turn it off by simply unhooking the battery. There's no on-off switch for this. So I can take it off, and I can also show you a little bit of the insides before I.
Oh, you gotta unmute your web. There you go.
Yeah, I just did that. So this is. I have to put my glasses on too, because I'm looking at the thing on the screen here. So this is the headset. There's the battery, and they make it look so easy, and I don't find it that easy. It's not like a MagSafe. It's got a piece that you have to get in, and you have to get in a right angle, or it doesn't work. This is again the band, the solo loop band. here is the little cushion there for the headset. And that has, I think, little magnets that put it in place. The dangerous part of this is you always have to hold it by the metal portion of the device, because if you hold it by this light shield is just magnetically held on to the headset. I'm going to do one last thing because I know Charlie asked about this, because I can put these lenses in here and they just snap in. Real easy, magnetic. So I'm going to put on a new battery. And then power up. And we will try to get into the Vision Pro. There you can just see me try and do this. I really... Okay, so by turning it on, you'll see this light will come on. And that will start the process. I'm putting the shield back. And I got to take my glasses off. So it will start to show this. There we go. It's glowing inside me. Inside here, it's glowing. And I should get my screen here in a minute. Okay, so I've got the Apple symbol. That's gone. I've got to put in a code. And I've got to get into the... No, I don't want that. Marty, AVP.
So a lot of people.
So I just put.
Yeah, like I say, a lot of people use the voice dictation rather than typing on the virtual keyboard. Oh, your audio muted. It's probably switching to the internal audio again, or the Vision audio. So he's going to the website, and then has to activate the camera.
Steve, have you had the chance to play with any of these yet?
No, not yet.
Is your store going to be allowed to sell them?
No. That's because they have to have the fitting and the prescription machine to make the glass inserts.
And the machines are not cheap.
Nope. Jackie's son bought one, so we're hoping he's gonna come back to Rochester and show it to us for a while. I'm not sure if you're hearing us, Marty, but we're not hearing you. your webcam is muted and the AVP doesn't have the camera turned on yet.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Oh, and I'm getting it through 2 locations.
Yeah, I see the
I'm good.
Marty AVP user is logged in to the lounge, but the webcam is not turned on yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there we are.
Here it comes.
Okay. Now I've got to figure out what to turn off here.
Yeah,
I think.
now you got to mute your computer without being able to see it. There you go. Now we're getting no audio from the AVP. Aren't live demos fun?
Okay.
There we are. I know that's your laptop again.
Yeah. Can you hear? Give me a little audio.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, good. I think I know what I'm doing now, believe it or not. So I want to share share screen.
Oh, I have to make you the presenter. Which user should I make presenter?
Let's do Marty webcam.
Okay. All right. Now you've got a 4th icon in the center for sharing screens.
Yeah, great.
Apparently there is a way to plug it into your computer through Xcode and then capture and record the AVP screen.
Yep. Are you seeing any of this now?
No, not yet. Yeah, after you click on the share screen button, you have to pick whether you want to do a window or the entire screen.
Are you seeing something different now?
No, just both videos. Now, if you wear your glasses in the Apple Vision, does it fit?
Are you able to hear me and are you able to see this?
We can hear you and we can see your avatar, but we're not seeing your screen.
Oh.
Do you want to be sharing the screen from your laptop or from the Apple Vision Pro?
I think right now he's probably going to end up sharing it from his computer, probably
Yeah.
not from the Apple Vision Pro.
It's interesting. The Apple Vision Pro says it's a mobile device.
I can't tell what's coming up. Can you tell me if you're seeing anything under?
No, we're not seeing a screen share. Is Ken still here listening? He's got his camera.
Steve, can you hear
blinked.
me?
I can hear you, Marty. Yeah. Ken is back.
There's Ken. He's back.
I'm back.
Yeah, I was mentioning earlier that I've been seeing on YouTube a lot of people are now starting to return the Apple Visions because it's getting close to the 14-day original return policy, and so all the YouTubers and bloggers were able to buy one, do their videos, and then return it and get their $4,000 back.
Do they get all their money back?
Yeah. Yeah, Apple generally has a 14-day return policy for full refund. One thing that's in the specs that they didn't talk about too much is the capacities. You can get it. The $3,500 is the 256 gig capacity. There is also a 512 gig and 1 terabyte models. So if you're going to store a lot of videos for those airplane rides, then you'd probably want to get the larger capacity ones.
It's always about memory, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's 3,500 for 256 gigs, 3,700 for 512, and 3,900 for a terabyte.
What are people saying about the productivity of this device? Are they saying that it's mostly like an iPad, or that it's really as good as a laptop, or what?
Well, it's such a cross between the two. Most people are focusing on the entertainment aspects of it, which it's really, really good at.
Makes it sound like they're not being very productive at all.
I did see Marcus Brownlee talked on using it as a virtual monitor on his laptop. So that one of the options is basically screen sharing. So the Apple Vision becomes a monitor on your laptop, and you open or your desktop and another Apple computer. One window in your view can be your computer, and and then you have this full immersive view of what you're working on in your computer.
Steve, I can't hear you.
What? Are other people hearing me? Okay.
Yep, just fine.
Just you, Marty.
Yep.
Sorry. Battery in the AirPod die?
Hello, Steve?
We can hear you.
Okay, I can hear you now too. Let me try this one more time. And if not, we'll just go.
Marty, on Marty AVT, in addition to your avatar, I'm getting what looks like a landscape behind you, a green possible mountain or hill, and more hills in the distance. I don't know if that means anything.
That's interesting.
Virtual background.
Could be. I'm having trouble getting. Now, I don't know if you're seeing any of this.
No, we're not seeing a screen share.
Oh, it's got to be.
You know, if you don't succeed tonight, you can be lined up for another presentation.
Yeah. My goal is to get it right the first time, but I'm trying to click on the share presenter.
Yeah, the bottom center of the screen.
Yeah.
Microphone, speaker,
But it
camera,
doesn't.
and then that should bring up a new window. Oh, do you have pop-up windows blocked? That should bring up a new window
No.
asking
Oh,
what you want to share.
yeah, I do have that. I'm having a dickens of a time with. Let me see if I can do that. No.
So all the videos that have come out now are basically first impressions, and I've used it for a week or two. We'll probably in a few months we'll start seeing here's how it's worked after a few months. And then at WWDC in June, they'll probably talk about what's next for the OS and new features.
I'm getting some error where I go to share screen and it tells me, and then it blacks out the option that you're giving me.
Are you in Chrome or Safari?
I am in Safari.
Yeah, that it does. Oh no, we're starting to see a screen share. All right, now.
Okay.
All right, now we do. We see your entire screen.
That's not what I wanted. Um,
So if you switch to a different app, we should see that app.
yeah, well, as soon as I can get I'm having trouble getting
Now we have a screen of a screen of a screen.
now you seeing anything?
We're seeing the Mastermind Lounge window.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah, after you hit the share screen button, you get to pick if you want to do the window or the screen. But I don't remember in Safari if you get that option or not.
I think I chose window.
And then you pick which window to share. And it looks like you picked the Mastermind Lounge window. So if you stop screen sharing and start again, then you can pick a different window.
Yeah, okay. Screen sharing.
We do see that the lounge works better in Chrome than it does Safari. You tend to get more options in Chrome.
It's asking me portrait, studio light. It's giving me a FaceTime HD. I don't want that, I guess. Okay. So now please do the overlay, consent to share. I'm going to turn the presenter overlay off because we don't need that. And it says screen share has ended.
Okay.
Should I go share screen or share window?
What are you trying to show, a program or your entire screen?
I'm trying to show, well, it doesn't matter if
okay.
you see the screen in the background.
Now we see
what I'm trying to do is get,
yeah, we see
because now I'm sharing your screen
Yep.
and I'm mirroring it with this computer, or I will be mirroring it with the headset with this computer.
Yeah, so we see your entire screen now. And your green and purple desktop background behind all the windows. There you go. Yeah, now now we see the Apple Vision.
Yeah. So let me close this up.
Oh, cool.
You know, so for example, that's my notes. And I'll move those over to the side. I'm looking at the session and if I want to go to a set of apps, I just click on this and the apps come up. I can go through them. And select what I want. You know, one of the comments was there are only 600 apps. Well, I'd be hard pressed to say I use more than 40 of them anyways. So I wasn't concerned about that. Tim Cook on the day out, and you know, the day that things came out and they were interviewing on TV, of course, Tim said, and you can get millions of apps. Originally, they said they're only going to come out with Apple apps to support it, but you got a lot of players in here now. Fantastical, Disney. there's just a bunch of remarkable things. I haven't even started with, I put some of these on here. Juno is the is the app for YouTube. Now I'm going to look around and I'm going to call things out. I'm looking at files. Now I move to tips. Now I move to an app called Black Box. I move to an app called Clocks. You can see the app kind of pushes out a little bit and the text underneath lights up. Encountering dinosaurs, Disney. Can't play Disney because of the DRM. This is my Fantastical calendar that's coming out in front of you. Of course, it's set for. It's a little late for the day, but now it's. I got to grab it and move it around. So yeah, there's just some remarkable stuff here. Excel. I've got things, Word, Zoom, of course, and then some apps I put on just to try different things I haven't tried yet. Questions at this point. In the background, you're seeing my living room. I can do this, and I can walk around it. And you can see the back of the apps. What's even scary is I went upstairs and it would show these windows floating in the air downstairs. So if I looked in that direction, you'd see these windows coming at you.
Go ahead, Rick.
I had a quick question about your Marty AVP window. I noticed that it's in portrait mode. Is there any way to make that a landscape mode?
You know, typically the persona comes out in that kind of postage stamp sort of view. When I used it on, it might be a function of this interface that we're using. On Teams, it does come out in a portrait, and it puts this artificial room behind you. It doesn't do anything for rear projection. And that, from what I can tell, that background, that background, this is an actual background. These are curtains. But that actual background, you can't change. So when I've been in these kinds of meetings with other people with the Vision Pro headset on, we all have the same background. And with the persona, the back side of your head is missing. So if you really turn around, it's like it's gone because there were no pictures taken of it. It might appear, I'm moving my head a lot, so it might appear, how can you watch this stuff and, doesn't it give you seasickness? And you're getting a much different view of it than, my experience with it here. It's all smooth. It's literally, these things are floating in the air.
Okay.
I think I've discovered tonight and previous nights, if I've worn my contacts all day long and I have disposables, that I kind of lose the function of it. Just an audio check. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep, we hear you fine.
Anything else I could try exploring dinosaurs. If you haven't seen that, it's pretty impressive. It's more impressive in 3D. When you're in the, when you're wearing the headset. Let me see if I can, I want to try and do another sort of premium app in here is that other people have talked about showing off, and I used it once in terms of photos. I pull up my photos, oh yeah. And you can do this with I'm doing this, and I don't know what you're seeing, but this photo wraps 180 around me. It was a panoramic shot that I took a while ago with some international teachers that I was working at, and we were having a picnic. Can you tell me what you're seeing before I shut this down?
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
seeing
it seems like it's a virtual picture. Yeah.
we're seeing the panorama
we're-
as you move your head.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
seeing the whole picture.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's like I'm standing in this backyard again.
And that wasn't taken with
And
the
that's
Apple
one
Vision?
aspect of. Pardon?
That was not
Did
taken
I take
with
it
the
with
Apple
the
Vision?
Apple? No, this was taken with a iPhone. It was earlier this year.
So just
No, it was fall of last year.
cool. So just a
So it
regular,
was probably the 15 Pro.
yeah, just a regular Panavision picture?
Yeah.
Panoramic?
Yeah. Yeah, and you can shoot spatial video. I haven't tried that yet. In terms of you can shoot it through this device, through the AVP. You can shoot it on your iPhone 15 Pro Max and play it. So you have that sort of through the AVP. And I haven't just tried that yet. But the panoramic pictures, and I haven't taken a lot, but the panoramic pictures are pretty cool. Now this is asking me to access my camera. So I have no idea why it did. Let's see, is there anything else? I appreciate your patience with I have never done one of these demonstrations trying to do it through the system, so I appreciate your patience with that.
We don't have
So it
any
sounds like you have
personal-
absolutely no buyer's remorse.
No, I don't. And again, it's sort of, I'm trying to be kind. I'm 66 years old. And I know there are members of the group or members of this group and other groups that are older than that. And, you know, I've heard people say, I'm just going to put off buying it and put off buying it. It's real exciting to get a new piece of hardware that on a platform that hasn't been, you know, that hasn't been done before, and being able to test it out in this system. So I think about it as, yeah, there's a cost involved, but I'm gonna let's see. I'm gonna close this picture down if I can. But you know, that's the joy of being on the front end of something. And you know, after myself having past issue with cancer, and successfully surviving that to this point, it's sort of like life's too damn short.
Do you mind if we
So,
asked
yeah.
how much you're all in to with all the accessories you bought?
Well, what I did was I started saving for it the minute it came out, because I knew it was going to be expensive. Hell, they talked about the potential cost back then. And I have a 512, so that was $3,700 just for the device. And I have the lenses, which I'm not using, although I've got to try the other prescription lenses and see if that I can use them at all. So, you know, that's another $250. And then I bought a light seal for my son in case he ever wants to use it, even in guest mode. He did something with the dinosaur animation where the dinosaur started coming at him, and we were mirroring it through our Apple TV. And he went out and now I'm seeing video of this. He went out and slapped the dinosaur. And the dinosaur started growling at him. And then he put his hand out and the dinosaur chomped on his hand. And then he leaned over and petted it. And the dinosaur put its head down. And so it was interesting. Now, I've heard there's also an Easter egg because there's some tiny little dinosaurs that come out at the beginning after the butterfly flies out at you. But if you interact with the tiny little dinosaurs, you supposedly get a different ending. And I haven't tried that out yet. So yeah, I mean, I'm in for the light seal. And I bought the marshmallow because I didn't know what was going to be on the market, and I knew I would be traveling with it. Now with this other case, I take it and I put it in a carry-on, so it's not I'm carrying it through the airport and people can see me dragging around a device. So that's what I'm in for.
How much was the extra battery?
The extra battery, $199.
Okay.
Did you get any comments on the plane while you were using it?
Absolutely not. And frankly, I was perfectly happy with that. I'll tell you, at one time, the flight attendant came over and tapped me on the shoulder, and I took the headset off, and I was disoriented only because I couldn't say the word Bloody Mary mix. And she kept saying to me, "What do you want?" And I was like, it's this red stuff that, I don't think it was because my vision was distorted. I think my head was just in a different place. But nobody paid attention. People sitting around me did not tap me and say, "Oh, that's, what is that?" I was perfectly fine with that because, with groups like this, you can appreciate it, but I would encourage you to go get a demo, to try it for yourself, even if you're not thinking of buying it, just because you get an opportunity to see what computing could be like for us in the future. So, so that's it was, I was glad nobody bothered me on the flight or anybody kind of looked at me like I was a nerd.
They were thinking it.
Yeah, well, thank God I can't read minds.
Yeah. Well, because I wonder how much.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
For not having it that long, you really seem to know what you're doing. So thank you very much.
And I wonder how much of the general public knows about this yet. It's huge in the tech world, but does the general public know yet?
I teach as a professor, and I brought it to my doctoral program class that I teach. Has nothing to do with technology, but they were all fascinated by it. They had heard of it, but I'm not sure they heard a lot about it. So that was, I'm going to move this out of view if I can. So I don't know if how much they heard about it, but what I was surprised was I said, "Does anybody want to try on guest mode?" And the woman who doesn't know how to print an email, gets super stressed out with tech. Everybody's looking at each other, and then she said, "I'll try it." I'm like, "This is gonna bomb. This is gonna bomb." And she got into it, and she started doing the hand movements. She had to do the training to get to that point, and had a great time with the device. And I thought, well, okay. So again, whether you're thinking of buying it or not, I would suggest that you just go get a demo so you can see what this is like. And I'm running the examining dinosaurs. Oh yeah, I can explore, but stay aware of your surroundings. This is all new. This text, since it first came out, is new. It's really trying to I think since they built some of the Easter eggs in. Oh, start. Sorry.
No, Martin, what we see, the picture is kind of jittery.
Yeah.
It's not like that for you, right?
No, not at all. That's why I say you need to kind of do a demo for yourself, because all of that motion, that jittery motion will disappear.
Oh, I see a butterfly.
I'll try and hold my head extremely still. But it's within the correction that you make that your brain makes, that you don't see. There's a little dinosaur.
Yeah, don't step on the butterfly and change history.
What about sound? What do you?
The sound is really good.
Where does it come from?
It comes from two speakers on the side, and those speakers on the side point down at your ear. Now, the thing is, you don't want to wear that. You want to use earbuds on a plane, because otherwise everybody gets to listen to the movie that you're listening to. And here comes the dinosaur. Come here. Come here. I don't.
It's just like my cat. Pet me, chomp. Enough.
So this is the way to watch the movie in the future, right?
Yeah.
He really looks like he's
And
in your living room. That's funny.
I looked for 3D movies, and Apple has a few. Most of them, some of the sci-fi stuff or the Marvel stuff, but it's really incredible. And we get to watch these guys fight.
They don't have any arms.
Yeah, well, no, really tiny little
ones,
but rudimentary. Okay.
Okay, applause.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, I can't encourage you enough to go get a demo, and just do the demo because you're interested in it. There's you'll get the sense of the dimensionality. This is a app that I started playing with. It's supposed to be sort of meditative. I'm going to close out some of my schedule here, and this will be the last thing. And I know we ran late, real late, but this just puts like these bubbles floating all around the room. And you point at them and you do your finger tap and they disappear.
Everybody likes popping bubbles.
Yeah, it's like popping bubbles. But if you do this one, this surrounds you with a tube. And the only way out of it is to turn 360. And I'm not going to do that now, so I'll see if I can close out of that. Yeah, I closed out of it. But it's built on that whole kind of interactive stuff. So, all right, I'm going to try and stop the screen share. Stop the mirroring. And
I should be
I don't know where this places me. Can you still hear me?
Yep. There we go.
Okay.
And then I stopped your...
So maybe I'll take this off. This is how I look in real life.
So, all right, that answers the question too. You've got the lines under your eyes from the thing squished on your face for 4 hours.
You know, I wear a CPAP machine, so I have lines under my eyes every day when I go to work. So yeah, that's it. That's
So does the
Apple
Apple Vision
Vision.
fit with your CPAP on so you can watch movies at night?
I haven't tried that yet. You know, I haven't tried that yet. So, and
Well, that's another
I
interesting
naturally
point,
have lines
though.
under my eyes.
One might, develop a dermatitis or something to wearing the device too long.
There are instructions on how to wash the what is it, the light seal thingy, and
The light steel, well, it's the cushion,
yeah.
and the cushions are, I think you can buy extra cushions at $39 a piece. I haven't. I've got an extra standard cushion that I bought.
There was also a tech note that came out about basically it was as if you feel nauseous or whatnot. So that made its rounds as the first Apple tech note on what to do if you puke while using one of their products.
Marty, that was fantastic, and it was well worth the wait while you got it to work.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm sorry again. Yeah, I'm glad I finally got it to work. Otherwise, it would be a huger embarrassment. So thank you for your patience. And
Nothing to be
again,
embarrassed about.
yeah, again, I've heard different things about getting demos. Like I've heard people go into an Apple store and say, "Can I get a demo?" And they're like, they look at their schedule and they go, "Yeah, we can do probably 4 hours from now is the next time you can do it." And you don't want to hang around the mall for 4 hours.
You can book a demo
so-
online.
Yeah, you can.
Yes.
Okay, great.
So I guess what we can see then is by the next meeting, if anybody's taken advantage of getting a demo.
Or anyone else buy one.
Well, you can just get a demo, and say, what's the experience like? I mean, a guy that I work with, he's very interested in it. I was trying to get him to come to the meeting tonight to see your experience, but he kept asking me questions about the whole thing. And I'm like, well,
Just give point them to the recording, the YouTube video when you're there next time.
Oh yeah.
okay, I will. But so I'm sure that people, as they hear more about it, for people who have tried it, they're going to ask them a lot of questions. But it sounds like you really have to take the demo in order for you to understand it more.
Yeah, to really get the dimensionality of it, to get, you're looking at what I'm seeing in a two-dimensional screen flattened.
Right.
And it's a different experience when you're wearing the headset and you're dealing with my head jiggling, which my brain, and everybody's head jiggles, but their brain straightens that out for us.
Yeah.
But it doesn't do that in the projected video. But in what I'm seeing, everything's as stable as you could imagine. So yeah, that's why the demo helps.
Right.
And I tell you, bring a blank check that was intended for your grandchild. And between you and me, they will never know.
Pay with your Apple Card and get that 3% back.
Yep. When I ordered it, I had plans to pay for it fully, and I had been saving money on my Apple bank account that's attached to the card. And I ordered the whole thing, and I had it all ready to and it was charged to that card. And my credit's pretty good on the card, but I did not want to test whether or not it would hold the full amount twice. Like I didn't want to test whether or not 10,000 would fly on an Apple card. So instead, I ordered the second one in installments. Once the other one canceled, I just paid the whole thing off just a couple of days ago. Once I know that I had it, it was clear, and I said I'd better figure out how to move this money over and pay for it, and I did. Actually, I did like 2 or 3 payments, but all within the same day to pay the thing off. So
Yeah, they have the 12 equal payment plan on the website.
yeah. So you can disappoint your grandchild 12 times over a year instead of once.
That's the nice thing that Apple has interest-free financing, and since they give you the 3% back instantly, I read that it's almost like it's negative 3% financing on the Apple Card. They give you money to pay over time.
Thing with that I've heard is that when Goldman Sachs settled source for money, they weren't. They were figuring that there would be a great percentage of Apple people who wouldn't pay their bills. And what they found is just the opposite, is that they're very good at paying their bills. And with that, they're not getting the interest that they thought they would get.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the rumors are that Goldman wants out and they're trying to find another bank to do it. But they're still contractually obligated for another year or two, I think it is, from the initial agreement.
I heard they were looking at Chase. There were some articles talking about who would pick it up. So.
All right. Well, again,
okay.
Thank you, Marty, for your demonstration and everything. Yeah. And like I said, we'll see how many people are going to take advantage and try and do a demo of it themselves by our next meeting and see what happens.
Okay.
Which hopefully somebody will out of the group, right? And do that. And then, so I guess to everybody else, then we'll see you next month, March already.
Elections.
Which will be our business meeting and elections.
So if anyone wants to nominate someone, they can let Charlie know. You're the committee chair, right, Charlie?
Yeah, he's committee chair.
Yeah. And Bob. Yeah, Bob, are you doing Saturday?
Actually, no, Bob.
Yeah, we're going to be out of town, so I'm not going to be available Saturday. I just
okay, so no green apples.
Right.
All right. So,
good night, everybody.
Good night.
Do we have a slate of candidates?
Yeah, it's the same people as now. And I didn't look at the email this time around to see if Steve listed them. I had thought maybe that was going to happen, but in any event, they'll be listed in the email before the March meeting. And in the last board meeting, we went through we went through some twists and turns about how to handle the scheduling of it. It seemed to me we needed all the nominations by March 5th, and Steve would send out a notice by March 6th or something like that. That would be the end of nominations, and then he'll send out a ballot. But at any rate, that's something like that.
Okay.
I mean, I'd be surprised if we got any additional nominations. If we do, that's great, and we'll deal with it as it happens.
Okay. You can always have nominations from the floor too on the day of the meeting.
That's right, you can, and we will permit that, but it's going to be a little tricky in terms of how the ballot works.
If somebody does that.
It might turn out that, in effect, the further nomination would have to be done as a write-in, and they get all.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, well, good night, all. Thank you.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night. Thanks, Marty.
Night.
Thanks, everybody.
Charlie.
See you next. Why?
I have a question. I'm not going to be able to do the board meeting next Wednesday. Can you run it for me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Very good.
All right.
All right.
Good night, all.
We'll see you
Good night.
later. Bye-bye.